Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the virtual Kentucky Speedway as we get all set to go racing in the Bluegrass State. Tonight, 134 laps are on the docket for race 20 of the Northwest Cup Series season here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Greg Rentz, Wesley Outland in the pit lane this evening. We also have Charles Wooden in the director's seat, calling out the shots throughout tonight's racing action. 20th race of the campaign, Greg. Not an easy racetrack, to say the very least. It's technically a 1.5 mile circuit, but it's not your typical cookie cutter of a racetrack. With the differences in banking, especially in 1 and 2, to the flatter turn 3 and 4, this track is not easy for anyone to drive around tonight.
No, a lot of people think Kentucky is right up there with Kansas, Vegas, Chicago, the other 1.5 mile D-shaped ovals. This thing is an entirely different animal, Justin. Like you mentioned, different banking in the corners, which makes for a unique experience here. You have to drive turn 1 and 2 entirely different than you do 3 and 4, and the run through 3 and 4 with that lower banking changes up the run you want to take through the tri-oval. This is an entirely different racing experience on a 1.5 mile as opposed to the rest of the circuit that we hit here in the Northwest Racing Series. So this one's always crossed on the schedule as a race everyone looks forward to because of the fact that, yes, it's a 1.5 mile, but it is an entirely different animal, like you mentioned.
And remember, this is a entirely different track scan, as this is the repaved Kentucky, the first time this series gets the chance to run on said circuit this season. 17 degrees of banking in turns 1 and 2, 14 degrees of banking in turns 3 and 4, progressive banking down in the trial for 8 to 10 degrees, and the back straight 4 degrees of banking around this facility. As well, the track conditions, very picturesque this evening. Air temp 80 degrees, track temp 81 degrees. The sun setting on down with the winds blowing 7 to 6 miles an hour to the south at the moment. Partly cloudy skies, decent humidity as well for tonight's racing action. So very calm and pleasurable track conditions with the NSIM day and time being June 11th, just past 8 p.m. in 2020. In our words, very good conditions for nighttime racing at Kentucky.
I'm looking forward to this, Justin. And not only are the conditions great, look at the size of the field we have. We have roughly 30 entries in tonight's race. A couple new drivers that I'm seeing on the list, either new to the series or making their first start of the season, and a couple returns as well. So this is going to be a really good race here tonight. Looking forward to seeing what happens here. 134 laps to determine who gets to have dinner with Colonel Sanders here tonight in the Bluegrass State. It's going to be fun here at Kentucky tonight.
Talk about some of those newcomers, including one driver who may be in contention for the victory based on experience in a little bit. But the drivers who have ran a majority of the season, they're focusing on one thing: playoffs, playoffs, and more playoffs. Top 12 move on to the postseason. In total, 3 drivers have officially locked themselves in, not just on victories, but in points, as in they do not risk falling out of the top 16. Dan West Jr., Sean Breitzman, and Christopher White. Other drivers such as Frazier, Stabnow, Walters, Tidrick are inside the contention range to make it into the postseason as well. You have to be inside the top 16 in points to move into the postseason. A lot of drivers are still trying to fight their way in. Bruce Lee Weaver just outside that cutoff with drops entering tonight. Caden Anderson, we've talked about him, has to gain a lot of points. He's still in 24th with just 9 starts, his 10th being potentially tonight.
Yeah, Caden Anderson, he wasn't sure he was going to be able to make it tonight. Got there in time, did not get a practice lap, but is in the field tonight in the number 37, so his charge for the playoffs continues. Remember, Justin, he has always run strong everywhere we go, but his lone victory in the Northwest Racing Series came earlier this year at Las Vegas, another 1.5 mile track. Caden Anderson likes these 1.5 miles. We'll see if this one goes in his way tonight with this race falling into the wheelhouse. But a guy we talked about a little bit last week got his first ever podium in the series, followed up with another top 5 on Thursday night. Riding a bit of momentum is Dan Lowther in the number 63. A lot of speed in the number 63 the last few weeks. Finally broke through, got that podium last Monday night in Chicago, followed it up with a top 5 in the trucks. Watch for Dan Lowther to really start making some noise tonight.
Not only that, That finish got him inside the top 16, in fact, Greg, in the points. So he's now in the conversation for the postseason with the drops. He, along with a few others, such as drivers like Tyler Wood and several competitors, expected to charge through the standings as this season continues to progress. Want to head towards Wesley on for the pit lane tonight as we get ready to race at this very different mile-and-a-half circuit this evening, moments before Q-Quote. Wesley.
Hey, good evening to everybody. Once again, always a pleasure to working down pit road for the coverage of the Northwest Cup Series. As you said, Justin, the season is coming to an end. Weeks away, these final races before the start of the playoffs, the points reset. Well, the same strategy will be here, kind of similar to last week at Chicagoland. The pit road entrance and exit is also very integral and important to make sure you get around narrowing on pit lane here at Kentucky. The driver, the team that can be able to make those pit stops, hit the right pit stop, especially at the money stop, could be the person we'll be talking to in Victory Lane here in Sparta, Kentucky. This track is unique. As you said, it's got an own personality of its own. The racing should be fun. The pit action should be interesting as well to determine the outcome here at Kentucky.
Thank you very much once again, Wesley. Can't wait to see how these drivers go. They're still discussing things in the drivers' meeting, especially the importance of how the playoffs are going to break out. Greg, if you're one of the drivers who are on the bubble to make eligibility or needing to gain a ton of points, what's your mindset as a driver, especially with this series heading towards the home stretch of the regular season?
The urgency is definitely up, but it's not panic time just yet. You still have a couple races with some wild cards in the field to go. If you can get yourself in before we get to those wild cards, by all means go for it. But if I'm on the bubble, on the outside looking in or barely holding on, I'm not in full-on panic mode just yet because I know this is going to be a good chance to get some points. I'm focusing on points racing right now, trying to get up there, just get as many points as I can, and just run well still, and try not to put that added pressure on myself to overthink perhaps trying to get into the playoffs if you're in that position.
Absolutely. Practice times, by the way, during the session, Dan West Jr. was the quickest in practice at 29.415. Bruce Lee Weaver, Jeff Stabnow, Joshua Marcy, Devin West rounded out the top 5 in practice, separated by about 5/100ths of a second. Carl Burke, Casey Garber, Chris White amongst the fastest drivers, along with Josh Childress looking to recover from a rough start. Now, before this qualifying session gets underway, let's talk about those newcomers, Greg. A few of them, in fact, in the field tonight. Was talking with our producer about the 54 machine of Robert Gambill. He's making his Cup Series debut tonight. Also, another driver to keep an eye on for Victory Lane potentially is Spencer Owens, a driver, personally, Greg, I've seen several times in fixed and open competition, who is very consistent. Could be a threat for the top 10 tonight in the number 12 machine.
Did not get a practice time in, but he has been very strong on iRacing in the past, so definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Spencer Owens, you mentioned Robert Gambill. He made his Truck Series debut this past Thursday night at Chicago, and he was up in the top 5 near the end of the day, so got to keep an eye on him. Another guy familiar to the series, but we haven't seen him a whole lot this year as he had some issues with his sim rig over the last few months. Good to have him back. Donovan Stevens in the 05 here tonight. Good to have him back in the series as it's been a while since he's been able to run with us. Good to have him back in the field as well. But you talked about drivers who were showing a lot of speed here today. You mentioned Spencer Owens, always fast, but I want to talk a little bit about a guy you mentioned, Devin West, in the number 5. He has really come into his own here in the Northwest Racing Series. He's up to 3 wins now in the Truck Series. Still looking for that first breakthrough win here in the Cup Series, but with the momentum he's got on the truck side, 2 straight wins entering Thursday night's race here at Kentucky, I'd look for Devin West to really start making some noise here in the Cup Series. He's been close several times, still looking for that first win, but I'm keeping my eye on the 5 car also.
Indeed, and part of the reason, too, I mentioned Owens, and this Owens isn't the end-all be-all, of course, is he has the biggest IR Owens does in the entire field, in the 45-4600 bracket, 4730 to be precise. He is a driver who competes in many of the higher up and top split even NIS events at some of the racetracks and is always very quick to them. Currently based out of Pittsburgh, all set to go for tonight's racing action. 108 career official victories, 455 top fives, and just under 1,500 starts. Curious to see how he does tonight and the several others. But in the final few moments of the race meeting for tonight, who else are you keeping an eye on to try and carry momentum for the past few weeks to try and continue it all the way into the September months?
Well, a guy who I think is not going to be in the mix for the playoffs because he joined so late in the season, but a guy who has shown speed ever since joining the series. We got to talk about Josh Marcy in the number 35. He has led laps in the last 2 races, and we thought at Canadian Tire a few weeks ago he was in prime position for that first victory. Unfortunately, circumstances did not go his way, but I'm keeping my eye on him in the number 35 as another potential dark horse. You also have a couple other drivers you have to keep an eye on. Of course, you mentioned Chris White. BJ Tidrick has been strong lately, and he's off a big win at Wenatchee Valley Super Oval in the brand new Pontiac back over the weekend, so he's looking to carry some momentum from the real life over to iRacing. And BJ Tidrick, he has been strong both in real racing and iRacing over the last few months or so. So keep your eye on the 70s as well. Qualifying underway here at Kentucky.
Now talk us through a lap here at this racetrack. Let's follow along with Tidrick for this precise. How do you drive this personally as a competitor?
Well, here we see Tidrick going into turn number 1, and I'm expecting a lot of guys to run the high line like BJ is doing right now. A little bit more banking, like you mentioned, 17 degrees there in turn number 1. Down the backstretch, getting as much speed as you can, and then you have 2 options here in turn 3. You can either go low, high, or you can do what BJ Tidrick does, go right in the middle. Multi-groove racing here at Kentucky, because you can get up on the wall, you can be down low, you can ride the middle. You have several options to go with here as Tidrick laying it down here, beginning the qualifying time of the 30.3 or 020. He is currently third on the charts as Carl Burke has gone to the top at a 29.6 in the number 53. Notice Carl Burke went lower in turn 1 and 2 than Tidrick did. So and we see it again here in turn 3. Burke taking the bottom. You can go bottom, you can go high. You have options here, Justin.
Indeed. Most drivers, though, prefer the bottom side, especially around this track, to try and continue speed, as well as tire wear. That's a major thing. You run up towards the top, it's going to potentially burn up the rubber. And or you become, say, that green machine of Eidenbacher and you smack said wall. In other words, around this track, the way I was describing it to a few of our colleagues before tonight, Greg, was it drives like Daytona this version of Kentucky in turns 1 and 2 almost, but like Auto Club in 3 and 4 because it's so flat and you have to get out of the gas for so long before you go back full throttle.
So that just shows you just how unique this track is. Daytona and Auto Club, entirely different forms of racing style track here, combined into one here in the Bluegrass. So you're looking at Donovan Stevens running the Darrell Waltrip inspired Chevy Camaro here tonight. Western Auto on board 05. Speaking of drivers who are showing a lot of speed, you mentioned him earlier, Josh Childress, the 115 Interstate Batteries Toyota, very strong, top of the charts, 21.517. He leads the way. BJ Tidrick, the only other driver in the 29.5 second bracket right now.
That's impressive for Josh Childress, in fact, Greg, because remember last race, it was a rough one. He was a part of where he was fairly off the pace and was involved in several incidents, did not finish. Taking a look now down the back straightaway, trying to gain some speed now in this machine. Scott Mann for the first time in a while, back on the racetrack in the Pennzoil machine. See how he does in qualifying, did not put up a single practice lap.
Been a while since we've seen Scott Mann in the number 90. Last time we saw him, he was having a very good run too. Can't remember what track it was at, but he was having a very solid run in his car before having the issues that knocked him out. We haven't seen him since. Going out there once again, currently sitting 7th, 29.666. So he's definitely going to be looking for a different number in his second lap because he's not going to want the 666 up there. Seth Frazier, a spot above him in 6th, 29.651.
I think he scraped the wall. That's going to end off his qualifying run. No time for the second time, and that could have been up towards the pole. Instead, it's middle of the pack. 1 top 5, 2 top 10s on the season. His best finish came at Las Vegas. Every other start was a DNF throughout the campaign, as now one of the air storylines to talk about a new paint scheme now for Chris White tonight. We've seen a few different looks from him. Tonight, he's honoring Jimmy Johnson, who announced he will be retiring from full-time competition earlier this year. At the end of the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series campaign, he honors him in his blue and white machine tonight.
Looking a lot like the old White Lightning car that Jimmy drove back. What year was that? 2014, 2015, around then that he was running the White Lightning car. So nice to see Chris White paying tribute to one of the all-time greats in NASCAR with Jimmy Johnson. Of course, this being his retirement tour, but he's not retiring full-time, Justin. We heard him earlier this week. He mentioned some interesting plans that he's looking for next year as well.
Done some tests in IndyCar racing. It's talked about various different road course events potentially. Have to see how that all goes. 29.655 meanwhile for Chris White. That's one of the fastest first lap times so far in the session. The pole time is still Josh Childress's with the 21.157 in total. 24 cars have taken time so far. 31 drivers have brought their cars to the racetrack this evening. How will White fare out here as he looks to thank the 7-time champ? Across the stripe, 29.593, top 5 on the board.
Top 5 for Chris White, hoping that the Jimmy Johnson paint scheme transfers over here to the track. Still, drivers that have yet to go include Jeff Stabnow, Spencer Owens, who I believe is going to sit out qualifying in the number 12 car, as he has staged right now. 25 cars have taken time. Jeff Stabnow, Scott Hutchinson, Spencer Owens have yet to take time, among others. Stabnow going out now in the number 24 to begin his qualifying run in his number 24 Walls Beer Co. LSR TV Ford Mustang. There you see Devin West. We talked about him having a lot of momentum going his way on the truck side. He just went to second on his second lap, Justin. 29.548, knocking his dad down to the second row. So Devin West showing that the speed is not just in the truck in the West Family Racing camp.
That was actually on his first lap, in fact, with the 29.548. That's still a few 100s off of Childress' time. Jeff Stabnow, by the way, you've seen him go off the track after he nearly tapped the wall off turn 4 on his initial warm-up lap. He is one of the final drivers left to qualify. Hutchinson, Stussy, Fournier, and Garber have all not come out of the garage area for their qualifying times. Neither has Spencer Owens for his debut in 2020. So we'll see how Stabnow does. He was one of the fastest drivers in practice with the draft. On first lap, it's a 29.679, decent P12.
29.679 once again for us now. 12th position. Teammate Sean Breitzman has gone out. 29.818 for Breitzman. He's 16th, but we know he's going to be up near the front by the end of this one. We know he's not afraid to play the strategy game. Stabnow lowered through 3 and 4 this time after going up the top on the first lap. Coming off turn 4 now to come around checker flag second lap. See if the possum can shave some time off.
Nope.
No, he's actually slower.
About a half a tenth slower, in fact, just about, and that just wraps up all the drivers on the track for qualifying. Because of the longer drivers meeting with a few of the newer drivers, looking like we're going all the way towards the clock. Not enough time for anybody else on the track to improve their times, although a couple drivers appear to be trying to get practice together, such as Dan West Jr. and BJ Tidrick, per their protocols. Your thoughts on qualifying tonight here, Greg? A decent session. Josh Childress with the pole time.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with Josh Childress after that disastrous run last week at Chicago. Just did not go his way. He has really come back with a vengeance tonight in the number 115. I think he's pretty much got the pole locked up here, as we're just going to run the time out. 35 seconds left. No other chances for anyone to make it out there. So Josh Childress, I believe, has just locked up his first pole of the season. He's got West Family Racing right behind him, second and third. And how about BJ Tidrick? The hot streak continues for the 72.
His debut only lasted 29 laps in the last round of this season. In his second career start, Josh Childress on the pole. He gets to stand by with Wesley Outland.
Yeah, before we actually give the starting lineup, he's already excited, pumped up, got a big smile on his face. What a lap Scott Childress, what a way to turn things around. Last week, after struggling, you put this car on the pole here tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Let's talk about the run you had getting around here and definitely changing things up from the problems you had last night or last week at Chicagoland. How different is this track compared to Chicago here in Kentucky?
Turns 3 and 4 is really difficult here, and I struggled a lot in practice. You can hold it wide open 1 and 2, or at least I do anyways, but I just kind of figured out 3 and 4 and just sent it and got lucky.
And by the way, my apologies. I said Scott Childress. I'm thinking of the promoter at the Real Track Cherokee Speedway in Livonia, Georgia. My apologies. Josh, go get them in car number 115. We'll see if we can talk to you in Victory Lane tonight here at Kentucky.
All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.
Josh Childress on the pole, gentlemen. He'll be the man ready to bring to the green flag for 134 laps, 200 miles, as it's about time to meet the starting lineup.
Thank you very much, Wesley. Let's take a look at how they'll start for tonight's race at the virtual Kentucky Speedway. Childress on the pole tonight at 29.517 in his second start of 2020. Devin West starts in row 1 alongside him, with Dan West Jr. starting alongside BJ Tidrick in row 2. Roy Grande with an air-strong qualifying run continuing to improve this season with the P5 run, while Chris White starts in 6. James Vining, John Ottenbacher in row 4. Rounding up the top 10, Seth Frazier and Scott Mann looking for some consistency after several DNFs before his last appearance.
Michigan winner Bruce Lee Weaver going to roll off in 11th in the Greg Biffle-inspired number 40. He will have Jeff Stabnow to his outside in 12th. Carl Burke, we've mentioned him, always runs very strong at the mile and a half. So he will roll off 13th. Chris Walton is outside in a new look number 51. You got Caden Anderson, keep your eyes on him as he is going to be trying to hustle his way through the field and get himself in the points position in the number 37, rolls off 15th with Sean Brightsman to his outside in the LSRTV Toyota. Robert Gamble in the number 17 rolls off in position number 17 in the number 54. Donovan Stevens to his outside in the 05. Ricky Bozer and Josh Marcy rounding out the top 20. Not the speed we've gotten used to seeing out of Marcy.
Yeah, rough qualifying run. He was in the upper half of the practice boards. Dan Lowther in 21st, Chris Torres in 22nd. Harris, Paulison, Corey Walters, and Daryl Tidrick round out your qualifiers. Rest of the field, set on originals. Owens, Fournier, Hutchinson, Stuzzi, and Garber are how those two respective drivers line up. Garber not on the track for tonight's opening run. Ray Fournier also missing the start. 29 drivers taken to the track to begin tonight's action from the Bluegrass State. Once again, at Kentucky Speedway, 134 laps on the docket. Strategy could be the name of the game tonight. Your keys to victory, Greg, before the start.
Going to want to keep your tires in check. Tire management going to be very key here, but you cannot let the leaders get away. You have to find that happy medium of running good, track position, and tire management. You got to find the happy medium here at Kentucky.
Half the field trying to catch up to the pace car. One driver couldn't get their engine installed, so that has delayed half the pack. For the front half of the pack, they're all set to go. Pace car is off. Field in control of the Toyota Camry of Josh Childress. Green flag waits up at the stand. We're underway from Kentucky.
Drive.
Josh Childress leads the first lap. Dan West Jr., though, already up to second spot after the jump. Roy Grande currently trying to fight several drivers behind. A majority of the field already trying to hug that yellow line, 1 and 2 wide throughout the pack.
This first side-by-side battle is for 5th between James Vining and BJ Tidrick. as they battled out for 5th. Seth Frazier already making moves, started 9th. He has already gotten around a couple of cars in the number 32, 4 wins on the season, including last week at Chicago. He is already making moves up a couple of spots. Biggest mover thus far, Caden Anderson in the number 37, started 15th. He's already up 5 spots into 10th. He's tied with Joshua Marcy for biggest mover of the race. And actually, no, Daryl Tidrick up 6 positions from the start in the number 45. He's coming in a big hurry, so already some big movers early.
John Ottenbacher already lost several spots. Robert Gamble already lost 10 spots as well through the pack early on so far. And we've talked about the momentum of Tidrick. Looking like, though, just playing the patience game, because the tire fall-off is massive at Kentucky. One of the highest amounts of tire fall-off with this entire package you will see.
Yeah, so we'll see just how long these tires hold up here before going in. Daryl Tidrick said during his practice earlier today, he did not anticipate being able to go a full fuel run before you had to pit for tires. So we may see guys short pit just for that tire management to try to get fresh tires on as much as possible.
By the way, you may have noticed up in front, Devin West did drift up into the wall in turns 3 and 4, trying to run way up towards the safer barrier. Small right front damage in that car. Lost him 1 spot to James Vining. You see that's a +4 now for the Cat car. Meanwhile, the middle of the pack is still intense, by the way. Stabnow, Burke, Mann, and several others are still scrapping just at the edge of the top 10.
Yeah, good battle going on between Marcy, Stabnow, and Burke. How about Josh Marcy? Already up 10 spots. Stabnow's in the wall. Contact with Carl Burke. I think Caden Anderson got a piece of it as well.
Caution flag is out for the first time tonight. And oh boy, that's one of the more difficult parts is you want to be on the bottom line, but at the same time, there's different ways drivers arc it in, Greg. That time it looked like Stabnow going for a bit of a later arc. Burke probably was thinking he was going to turn in about a half car length before.
Yeah, tough break there. We got this on the swag replay. Taking another look at it. There you see Stabnow inside, Burke outside. This is coming through turns 3 and 4. Stabnow on the inside, just trying to follow Josh Marcy through there. They come down, and like you mentioned right here, watch for Stabnow to take the higher arc, and Burke trying the lower arc. And yes, Caden Anderson did get a piece of that.
And apparently he was very nervous about that said incident. Unfortunately, again, Anderson may have gotten a piece of it, may have gotten lucky at the same time. Stabnow, not so much. Already having to use a fast repair on lap number 6. On the bright side, for those thinking about the strategy card, if there was an early caution, there was the chance if you pit now, you can make it on a 1-stopper. That's why several drivers just came down. Childress does not, though. I don't think he realizes that.
How about the entire field with the exception of Childress coming down? So this is going to be an interesting restart. Wesley, Dan West Jr. leading the field down to you.
Yeah, they're all coming down pit road. Also, Jeff Stabnow, damaged and battered, number 24 Ford, as everyone else also comes to their pit stops ready to take on service, except for Josh Childress, the pole car. They're all going to add on 4 tires and fuel. Now, one of the strategies that I was being talked about amongst this race here tonight at Kentucky, gentlemen, was probably in the window of 3 pit stops. They'd have to do at least 3 pit stops, maybe 2, for a full run of a tank of fuel, 2 tanks of two of those big tanks of fuel, as well as taking on new tires. So some guys that I was talking with are saying doing 3 stops. Obviously, now with this caution, it completely throws that scenario out the window. So we'll have to decide here what these drivers are going to do. But nonetheless, we're going to keep an eye on Jeff Stabnow. He does have to do a reset. Burke looks like he's okay. Minimal damage on that car is also Caden Anderson. All those drivers look like they're able to go on, and we'll see what happens with this race as we're under caution in the first time at Kentucky.
Several drivers with problems during this pit stop sequence. You've seen Dan West Jr. with a penalty. There goes all his track position, Greg, as well. Scott Hutchinson elected to stay out for the first time around, coming around the second time. And Seth Frazier also took 2 tires to gain track position. So did John Ottenbacher after losing several dozen positions off the jump. So a lot has happened under this caution flag. Let's put it that way.
So you mentioned Seth Frazier taking 2 tires. Interesting call here. There was only 6 green flag laps on those tires. We've talked about tire wear being crucial here, but 6 laps, is that enough to where it's worth trying it out just to see what happens right now?
Actually, I've seen it work before, Greg, in official races back when this track had its first major races on this new version of the track. That was around July-ish, in fact, when those drivers got the chance to run for the first time. It is a doable strategy. It's just the matter of, did you overheat the left side tires, especially since, Greg, based on what we've seen, sometimes it can make your car looser. A lot of times with the newer tire models since the beginning of the year, it can make you actually more tighter if you overcook the tires, or over balloon the tires, rather.
We saw Seth Frazier going up through the field also. He had already gained about 3 spots at the time of the caution, so he was pushing it in the 32 early, trying to get up there. So curious just how much damage he did do to those left side tires. James Vining, the 333, good run for him. He's up 4 positions from his 7th starting spot. Wonder if Devin West took the fast repair with that little bit of damage on the front, which would be tough break to take it that early. Same boat as Stabnow and Burke, but man, that would be interesting to see a lot of drivers already using their fast repairs here.
Scott Hutchinson, by the way, took an end of longest line, probably. Wesley, you're standing by in the pits.
Well, Devin West has not took on no fast repair yet, as we're still under the caution flag. Stabnow did have to take on a repair after all the damage he had with his number 24. Caden Anderson also, I just checked in with him on his pit crew. He has no damage. Believe it or not, guys, no damage. Why? Because he had a little visit with some internet issues called netcode, and in doing so, that allowed him not to totally tear up that car in the luck for the 37 of Caden Anderson. He's going to be okay. And also strategy on 2 tires for Seth Frazier. He says, and I quote, just kind of testing the waters out here at Kentucky to see if I can make this on 2 stops with 2 tire stop and then a 4 tire change for the finish.
Thank you, Wesley. And that actually is a great point to bring up, because if we go into a 2 tire situation towards the end of the race, Greg, you want to know if it's going to work for you.
Yeah, that's why I like the call by Frazier in the number 32. Try it out early, and I gotta say, I'm honestly surprised we didn't see another certain purple car give it a shot at this point. Sean Brightsman, the 46, of course, is the one we're talking about there. Honestly, very surprised he didn't try it out just to see if it would work moving forward, because we know he loves those 2 tire pit stops.
Absolutely. So, as the drivers get ready for the one-to-go signal this time, to reset your top 10 is Josh Childress, Seth Frazier, James Vining, Devin West. BJ Tidrick rounds out the top 5, but John Annenbacher also in 2 tires in 6. Grande's in 7th. White, Marcy, and Bruce Wee Weaver round out your top 10 in the first 5 rows for this upcoming restart. What's your take as well on how this action has gone so far? It looked fairly spread out. It's similar to what was seen if you think back to the older version of this track in 2019 when this package debuted.
Yeah, it was a little bit different than what we have come to expect from the half miles. They were jockeying for position. We saw some 3 wide, saw some nice passing, saw a couple guys coming through the field. So definitely one to watch unfold here, Justin, because now we got a couple guys on some different strategies. You got Childress who stayed out, Frazier on 2 tires, rest of the field on 4 behind him. A couple very fast cars have already had to use their fast repairs, and we've already got multiple cars that have advanced 10 plus positions. Biggest mover right now, you talked about him in pre-race, the number 12 of Spencer Owens driving the Ryan Blaney throwback. He's going to run at Darlington in a couple of weeks here tonight. He's up 12, or he's misread the numbers.
Up
he's
7.
up 8 positions.
7 positions.
Yeah, but he is moving through the field very quickly.
He is so far taking it nice and calm for his series debut. Field in the hands of Josh Childress this time. Pace car rumbles off, out of the way. Off and away goes Childress, back and away Kentucky, 123 laps to go.
Big start from Childress in the 115, and that's what he needs. Him and Frazier both reside in the same hometown. They both reside in Wenatchee, Washington, so wonder if there is a little bit of hometown cooperance there between Childress and Frazier. As James Vining and Devin West get around the 2 tires of Frazier, now we're going to see what those 4 tires, even with just 6-lap difference, makes here as Vining goes around 115. The Cat to the lead in the triple three. Are we going to go 4 wide here for the lead, or is Childress going to fight back? Yes, he is. Vining leads the lap, but Childress coming fighting back here.
And Vining, for the first time in a while, up in the race lead. Childress back up to second as he nearly cut off Frazier's nose. Frazier trying to gain some momentum, and that's one of the main things around this track to get passes. Momentum off the corner, very crucial, especially off turn 4. If you're up out of that groove off the bottom, you can kiss that position goodbye. Childress kisses P2 goodbye as here comes Devin West.
West on the inside trying to get a run on Childress, excuse me, I almost said Vining because I see a car with triple digits in a green car. My mind automatically goes to Vining. Forgot we got Childress in the field this year. How about John Ottenbacher in the 89? He's had a nice recovery after hitting the wall in qualifying earlier. Qualified in 8th. Nice solid run for him. Remember, he had a strong run in Chicago last week as well. He's looking to bounce back after a top 5. Looking for another one.
By the way, Dan West Jr., after that speeding penalty, the fastest lap of the race, last time by a 29.511. That's in 21st position deep in the pack. So both the West family racing drivers very quick tonight, to say the very least. The fastest that time by the stripe was Jeff Stabnow in 26. Here's a look at the 55, trying to get by Chris Torres to get back inside the top 20.
Torres, of course, another guy we talked about who's making his first few starts in this series, number 99, trying to stay out of trouble right now in his, as the field working their way through. Dan West Jr. closing in, trying to make his way back up after the speeding penalty. Has Brightsman back there with them, so we'll have to keep an eye on a couple Team LSR TV members as they try to make their way up through the field. Here comes West with a little bit of a run, going to take the air off the rear of the 99 and try to get a run here on the outside through 3 and 4.
Trying to still get it on the high side, trying to build up the momentum, cuts to the bottom side. And right there, just enough speed to build up a ramp. Brightsman trying to now follow suit as West Jr. up to P20. The car you were seeing, by the way, up the road for 14th is Owens. You talked about him. He's now your biggest mover, tied with Joshua Marcy, plus 13 on the race. And he's coming in quick. He's one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, nearly as quick as everyone except for James Vining.
Dan Lowther behind him just hit the wall in the number 63. He's able to continue on, but possibly some damage for Dan Lowther behind him as we see Owens going after Roy Grande. Taco Bell back in the field tonight, but Spencer Owens, I gotta say, as a Blaney fan, I love seeing that number 12 car on track right now, and I gotta say Spencer Owens is very much doing it justice here as he is running very strong right now, trying to crack the top 10 now as he's going for 13th after starting 27th, making his series debut and looking very strong here in the early stages. You were right, Justin. You got to keep your eye on this guy moving forward.
Didn't mention he's a Ryan Blaney fan. By the way, here's an error scrap on screen. West battling with one of the LSR TV machines. That's Ottenbacher. And already it's looking like so far, at least on the short run, the 2 tires are actually quicker than the 4 tires just about.
Looking good for Seth Frazier in the number 32. Vining got around him.
And Ottenbacher's on the same call, don't forget, Greg.
Ottenbacher is on the same call there. The 2-tire stop. Ooh, someone got up in the wall. That was Josh Childress, your pole sitter, and he is still kind of up close to the wall. I don't know if he actually got the wall, but if he didn't, he was really, really close there, Justin.
He definitely did and hit it several times, in fact. Crumpled in the right front. So Childress, that decision to stay on the racetrack is coming back to haunt him and haunt him badly. Because remember, if you saved the fuel enough, you could have made it on a 1-stop. It's a risky 1-stop, but now those tires look shot up the track, again up to the wall.
He is fighting that car. Here comes Spencer Owens in the number 12. And now we're seeing it, Childress on those older tires. We're seeing just how quickly these tires go away. The good news is for Childress, it's not going to be much longer before this starts happening to the rest of the field. And if the tires plateau, he'll be able to hang in there, provided he gets the damage fixed on the right front of the car. But how about the guy in the lead, Justin? We talk about him all the time, but we don't get to see James Vining leading the way very often in the triple three.
Just one top 5 this season for the Cat car. Several times has had some bad luck. In fact, came into tonight with a 4-race streak of DNFs, as well as 3 top 10s in the campaign. But the last time he did so was all the way back at Darlington. That's in June. So since then, the myth of the car, and as well the caricature of the cat on the nose, has come into play. Tonight, he's finally showing a bit of speed. By the way, Childress back in the wall in the midst of packed traffic right in front of West Jr. and Harrison Company.
And that's a big one there with Dan West Jr. able to avoid it. But he's still stuck behind the 115. 3 wide between Lowther, Walters, and Childress. Lowther, of course, got the wall as well, but Childress still falling back in the 115. So he's definitely going to need to take that fast repair when he comes into pit road, Justin. And do you think with the way he's falling, do you think he's going to try to make it for another caution, or do you think he's eventually just going to throw the hands up and say, hey, I need tires, and I'm going to come in on the green here?
I mean, if he pits right now, he won't be able to make it on the preferred strategy, of course. But the main risk, I think, though, is, Greg, want to take the look towards the onboard. It's almost like he's putting in too much wheel just about. Just if we can take a look towards the steering column specifically, you'll see it just right here in 3 and 4. Here we go, a full 45 to 90 degrees, and that, if you turn too much, Greg, can kill your tires. Wesley standing by with your race leader, by the way, for the update.
How about it for the Catman, ladies and gentlemen? The Catman, James Vining, the 333. We all know the stories. The stowaway cat attacking him, making him lose internet service, having to struggle, having issues, getting caught up in accidents not of his doing, netcode issues, crashes, handling, big wrecks. Well, tonight could be the night for the 333 of James Vining. His pit strategy, by the way, is going to be coming to pits every 45 laps since the last caution. 45 laps since the last caution. He'll start making pit stops. Going to try to cut it down to 2 possibly. And again, could James Vining possibly be a winner on the Northwest Cup Series? Come on, let's get it, Catman.
Thank you very much, Wesley. The last, we went green, by the way, on lap number 12 to get back to racing. So keep that number in mind. That is approximately inside the 50 to 60 lap range for his first scheduled stop, looking like a potential 2-stopper to get to the finish of this one. Lead is still about 0.75 seconds, by the way. Scott Mann, though, just ducked down to the pit lane. Something going on with Mann.
Scott Mann making his return to the series in the number 90. We'll see if he comes down. We've seen this before out of him, kind of bobbing the car a little bit. Not sure if something happened as he's coming down pit road towards his pit stall. He's going to slide in. First start back in a while. We'll see if he just comes in for tires or if he's going to call it a night. Right side up on the number 90.
He's out of the car. He's done.
He is pulling in. Scott Mann retiring from the day. Tough break for the number 90 in his return here to the series. One guy we were talking about, but I think may have used up a little bit too much of his tires, Justin. Josh Marcy was up in the top 5, up to 4th. He has fallen back now to 7th and is trying to reel back in BJ Tidrick, but Marcy had climbed up as high as 4th, but the tires, I think, are now shot on the 35 as well.
And it's so difficult to balance out the tires because the amount of fall-off, by the way, almost 2 seconds. We're about 20, 30 laps into a green flag run. That's a massive amount with this package, mind you. It's not easy to keep them cool, and if you cook the tires, you're just going to go backwards and backwards and backwards. If you're able to have good strong corner exits like Tidrick here, you can try and get a good launch to get to the bottom and then still be able to cut. For Marcy, it just doesn't look that way as White nearly got hit by him, and now we're 3 wide down the front. Drag
racing the line, give it to Tidrick that time by. And actually, no, lifetime in scoring gave it to Chris White there. I thought by visual that Tidrick beat him, but Tidrick is able to clear. This is for 5th, by the way, on the track. Is Tidrick now in the drag race with Josh Marcy. Caden Anderson has entered the chat here as well. Behind them, about a second back, but look who's climbing up through the field.
And Anderson actually gave a little bit of the door to Chris White. With the back end of the race car, shuffled White up the racetrack. White's car clean, so is Anderson's. But Anderson's still keeping on chugging on, just like you were just about to say there, Greg.
Yeah, Anderson doing a nice job, but look who's behind them closing in. Spencer Owens has cracked the top 10 into number 12.
Plus 18 on the race. What? What an impressive race for him so far. By the way, hearing that Childress had another off-track moment as his car is falling apart at the 115. Give credit again to Owens. It's mentioned, well was respected in some of the races he competes in. Top split racer, has competed against eNASCAR Kauai Racing Series driver. Doesn't usually have the luck go his way in some cases in official races, but the speed is there, and we're seeing it right now compared to the other cars on the racetrack. At the moment, he's the fastest in the field by a tenth of a second or more than the leader.
Yeah, he is showing a lot of speed in that number 12. Elected to not qualify, to start in the back, try to race his way through, and he's doing a very nice job of it as well, showing that he has a lot of speed. The Pittsburgh native coming out to play in the Northwest here tonight, looking very strong here in the early going. Yep. But I tell you, it's going to be a little bit difficult once he gets up to the likes of Devin West, Seth Frazier, and guys we see competing on a weekly basis. Owens is going to have his hands full once he gets up there, but he is showing a lot of speed here in the early stages.
Still looking at the battle up front for fourth position, by the way. Devin West, BJ Tidrick have been scrapping for about 10 laps, it seems. 100 to go this time by on the dot. Marcy also still now staying balanced as everyone's burning up their equipment on all this. As Marcy nearly hits the apron, White with the 4-tire drift. Here comes Owens now with the run.
Owens to the inside. Great power move there by Owens to get around Chris White. And I think he would have had a lot more precautions out, Justin.
Chris Walters in trouble at the back of the field, the number 51. Under yellow for the second time tonight. And it was from P14 in the field and self-inflicted off the corner exit. The car was demolished before. Now it's even more demolished after a smack to the right side wall. Grande and several others just avoided hitting him. One, though, did at the back of the field. 2 others ricocheted off him.
Here you see it on the swag replay, bouncing off the wall. Here we go, up the track. There you see the 2 that we're talking about. Oh, Ricky Bozer in the 42, and was that Frank Harris and Donovan Stevens all piling in there?
Frank Harris just has zero luck, it seems. Just about every single incident we've seen Harris involved in this season, it's not of his own doing, and we just seen another example right there, nowhere to go, and he's got a blown engine as a result. That's likely a fast repair, and an EOL given to him, by the way, to make sure none of the drivers get a black flag as he catches the pit line.
Speaking of pit line, everybody's coming to pit road for tires, Wesley. Here we go. Stop number 2 on the night, and for everyone except for Josh Childress, but they're coming to you.
So you remember the strategy that I was talking about, James Vining? He said he would do it around 45 laps after the last caution flag. Well, we're on lap number 35, so we're about 10 laps off of the pit stop. So negative 10 laps to the next pit stop, and you'll see if he can really gamble and make these two pit stops through the race. Everyone else is on the pit lane, including Dan West Jr., B.J. Tidrick, Roy Grande, Chris White, James Vining. Audenbacher's had a good run in the top 3. 4 tires, 2 cans of the Splash and Sunoco fuel, tear off on the windshield, couple of drivers doing track bar, tying in loose off here in Kentucky, and everybody is watching James Vining enter first, exit first. Man, the Cat Man up 6 spots in that last pit stop, gentlemen. It's his race to lose here in Kentucky.
Thank you very much, Wesley. What a great run from him so far. Take a step aside when we come back. More action for the Northwest Cup Series will continue. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing from the virtual Kentucky Speedway.
ETE Reman is the world's best remanufacturer of transmissions for import and domestic cars and trucks. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, our customers are repair shops, auto parts stores, dealerships, and distributors. And with 6 nationwide warehouses, we're where and when you need us. So when you're looking for a transmission that is like new, only better, instill confidence and install ETE Reman.
98 laps to go at Kentucky for more action for the Northwest Cup Series. It's the 20th race of the campaign in the Bluegrass State. Justin Prince alongside Greg Wentz. Let's be in the pit lane this evening with Charles Wooden in the director's seat. For those tuning in, James Vining has led a majority of the laps so far in the Cat car. Seth Frazier, John Ottenbacher made their 2-tire gambles pay off to go P2 and P3 after the most recent pit stop window, now under caution for the second time tonight. Tidrick and Devin West round out the top 5. But one of the storylines of the night still has been the man up 20 positions. Do you recognize the name Nork? That's where you may have recognized the name Spencer Owens, one of its top competitors. He's showing that speed tonight. He's been flying through the field on the long run.
Hey, who knows? Maybe this is a chance to perhaps get a Northwest Racing Series North crossover here in the future stages here, Justin, as Spencer Owens coming out 20 spots up.
Wes Gowan, meanwhile, is on the radio with the man in the Cat car in the 333, James Vining.
James Vining, Wesley, LSR TV, Pit Communications, what a job you're doing in the race tonight.
Oh, thank you.
It just seems like everything has fallen into place. Do you secretly like this place and don't tell nobody?
Actually, I spent a lot of time practicing here earlier in the year and then this last week.
So we did tell everybody your strategy was going to be between a 45-lap window to try to knock out 2 stops. Does that change now since we just had this caution flag and you're about 10 shy from that first mark with the 2 cautions we've had so far in the race?
Actually, I'll have to redo math and talk with my teammates again because they helped me with it. Because right now I'm a nervous wreck. I'm shaking like a leaf. I've never led any laps here, and so to do that with these guys is just, I mean, it really means a lot to me. It's really cool.
James, what would it mean to you, buddy, with all the cat attacks and the stowaways of putting your animals and everything you've had to do to help control the pet population yourself, and of course also just struggles racing esports to win here tonight at Kentucky and be a Northwest Cup Series winner? What would it mean?
Oh, it'd be I'd probably be speechless. I kind of am right now, because these guys are just the best people. They're the toughest people. I can go out in the official leagues and win races, but man, here, these guys are good.
Better pack yourself a big lunch. Get ready for the restart, ladies and gentlemen. Justin Gregg, a matter of fact, part of Da Vinci Racing, he was literally talking with his crew members and friends like Roy Grande and Stephen Paulison and Frank Harris saying, okay, guys, I'm coming to the restart, first time as the leader. When can I go? When do I go in the box? When do I take off? You can literally sense the nervousness in James Vining that he doesn't want to make a mistake. He wants to do it right, and he wants to win on the Northwest Cup Series.
Sounded like it, absolutely. Thank you very much, Wesley. And to emphasize that point, he has not even led a single lap. Not one, even before tonight's race. These are his first led laps of the season that we've seen him have so far, Greg. And now he gets to control his first restart of 2020 in the Cup Series.
So it'll definitely be fun to watch James Vining here on the restart. We'll see how he can adapt, but I'm curious about the guy behind him, or I should say alongside him, Justin. Remember, Seth Frazier took 2 tires on that first pit stop and looked very strong. This is the first time we're going to see both him and Ottenbacher on 2 tires. The 2 tires worked with that little bit of a gap between tires, only 6 laps there. Now they're on 4 tires. Let's see what the 32 and the 89 can do on 4 fresh tires for the first time tonight.
Was going to say that would be crazy to try that on 30 lap old tires, but some of the biggest movers in that pit stop sequence, by the way. Brightsman gained several positions again inside the top 10 for the first time tonight. Dan West Jr. still in the teens, who gained a few positions. Bruce Lee Weaver still floating around just outside the top 10 as well after their respective pit stop sequences. But it's Vining, Frazier on row 1, Tidrick, Ottenbacher row 2, Devin West, Caden Anderson row 3, Owens and Marcy row 4, Chris White, Sean Brightsman round out your top 10 positions. Pace car is off, and the Cat car stacking them up and off and away. Slow start for the top line.
Here we go, Vining leading the way down. He has figured out when to go because he is rolling in the number.
Good restart, guys. Good restart. He's happy with it.
Yeah, big lead there for James Vining as they go out side by side, almost between Frazier and Ottenbacher, as the first side by side is now for 5th between BJ Tidrick and Spencer Owens.
And they're coming in quick as well for James Vining now with the equal tires. Frazier trying to arc it on down.
Ooh,
BJ Tidrick watching as Onenbacher gets loose. Onenbacher loses several positions. Not a good start for Onenbacher. Several spots lost, similar to what we've seen on the inaugural start. All while Seth Frazier, he takes the race lead away from the cat car. Up the track goes Vining.
Vining pushed up the track just a little bit there, and he's going to lose a lot of ground as he's stuck on the top. He's getting freight trained now.
Vining's got a problem. He just indicated on the radio he has to come down. Greg, do you think he went too early? Because remember, you have to make sure the pace car is off in the pit lane.
That's a possibility. We'll have to double check and see what happened with him, but he's coming down pit road. What a heartbreak for the cat car.
Also hearing now via social media that Chris Walters, for his incident, apparently had his screen go black for the whole 20 seconds involved in that incident that we've seen bring out the most recent caution. So a couple of your drivers having some troubles now, all while Seth Frazier now leads by 0.4 of a second over BJ Tidrick. But the battle is on for third on back. Owens is coming in quick.
And this is a reverse of what we saw on Saturday night in Wenatchee here, Justin. It was Seth Frazier and BJ Tidrick for the win in the Dixie and Air Conditioning Thundercar Challenge, but it was reverse. Tidrick leading the way for Frazier. Tonight here in the Cup Series, it's Frazier's turn to lead the way. Frazier with 4 wins on the year, Tidrick with 1.
Hey, Justin, they are saying that James Vining switched lanes before he crossed the start-finish line. He is furious. He is saying he doesn't see how he would have done that because he was watching the pace car. He is not a happy man right now in the 333.
And Vining, losing tons of track position, is now off the lead lap as well. Thank you very much, Wesley. And the main thing is they're looking back towards things on that restart. Greg, he actually did arc it up to the middle of the track at the start and finish line, and that's where I think they booked him.
That could very well be the problem, Justin. That little arc up into the middle of the track, that does count as a lane change. That's a tough one for James Vining. Leading laps and looking very strong, but unfortunately now he's going to need a caution to get himself back on the lead lap. Good news is for him, if he does get that caution, we know he has a lot of speed and he should be able to make his way back through the field.
Discuss it a little bit later on a bit more as Tidrick's still in P2. Side by side, right behind him, by the way, Chris White and Owens. At this point, it becomes the difference of, okay, do you have the clean air like Frazier or the dirty air like we see here? And that's going to be one of the more difficult things again at Kentucky, is maintaining that speed since it's near full throttle here on fresher tires.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. The tire wear going to be giving in more and more. We saw how quickly the tires fell off on that last run. So a lot of throttle management going on right now here in these guys running up front, trying to make it work, because we have no clue how long we're going to go, but you have to assume it goes green the way, or the rest of the way. If you're in the driver's seat, you got to manage those tires. Checking in Dan West Jr. up to 8th now after having the penalty and falling outside the top 20. Dan West Jr. back up in 8th position.
Oh, trouble. Chris White into the inside wall. Spins down the back stretch as the caution flag is out. Third caution is he doesn't come up into traffic, thank goodness, but a contact behind them. Weaver hit from the back end by Torres as they try to lock it up behind him.
There we see Weaver, a lot of damage on the back of the number 40. Gonna take a look at that at the swag replay. First, we'll take a look at what happened with Chris White into number 83.
Door-to-door contact looked like with Anderson, but then there's the secondary incident as Torres tried to slow down and just mollywhopped the back end of Weaver.
And Weaver had already started to slow down. Torres trying to let up. You saw him going to the inside to avoid running into the back of, didn't catch who that was in front of him. Unfortunately, Weaver was already down there slowing down.
Tough break for the 40 machine in that. Even tougher break for Chris White, who is in a top 5 car early. Now, those drivers amongst those who may have to use their faster pairs with the caution flag once again. On the bright side, it's a one-stopper in the field from here, as James Vining electing to get the lucky dog here with everybody else going Wesley's direction.
Yeah, everybody else coming out of the pits for at least probably their third pit stop, and we're going to check in real quickly on Chris White and see how much damage is on his car. He's probably going to have to do a reset, if you will, to totally refurbish that car, as the other drivers, Torres and the other man you mentioned, Bruce Lee Weaver, a little damage on the front for the 40, on the back, the rear end of the car for the 40 of Bruce Lee Weaver. Torres's car damaged on the front end, but I do not see them doing any reset yet. So other than that, pit stops are going on. Here comes Tidrick out of the pits, obviously. Brightsman's out. Frazier's out. Dan West Jr., Devin West, all these drivers out of the pit lane. We'll find out more information on White, Torres, and Weaver in just a moment.
And guess what? Hutchinson staying out, of course, for the point. But he talked about it, Greg, and we were talking about this as well with Wesley a little bit. Brightsman was expected to take a two-tire call at one point. He just did.
And I think it's a good idea at this point, Justin, because we saw about the same amount of laps on the initial green flag run. Frazier and Ottenbacher trying the two tires. It worked. I can't say I'm surprised at all to see Brightsman give it a shot now.
Indeed. Expecting Hutchinson to peel off this time. He's been coming the second way around each time in the pit stop sequences. But what a run so far for some of these drivers. Frazier has been looking strong now early on in the short runs. Curious to see how he does in this run now, as he no longer has control of the field and also has to deal with some dirty air to try and get around the two tires of Brightsman here.
Definitely, Justin, going to be interesting. Well, let's see if we can take another look at that last restart and see if we can diagnose exactly what happened with James Vining and why he got the black flag. We'll see if we can take another look at it on the swag replay. See if we can diagnose exactly where it was that he came up the track, if we still have that replay locked and ready here on LSR TV.
We will have that in just a moment, believe, in that regard. But again, the rule is you cannot change lanes before the start and finish line. It's like that in real life as well with the NASCAR Cup Series and all the national level series events. That includes, as we mentioned, includes the middle of the track. And take a look. Vining's in control of the field. The launch is okay. He's in control of that field there, and it's his discretion on when they go after the initial start of the race. Watch here once they go towards the final 50 to 200 meters here, where Vining comes up right here to the middle of the racetrack.
Just barely, and that's just enough to trigger it. And that's a tough break for him. The good news for the 333 of Vining is he did get the lucky dog, so he's back on the lead lap. We know he's got a lot of speed in that number 333. He's going to restart 24th, and he's going to be trying to come through the field here.
Vining hearing acknowledgement penalty, and they have given him a warning as well in regards to that in discussions to determine things. By the way, Hutchinson technical issue is now your third DNF of the night. Hutchinson, Chris Walters, Scott Mann, currently all off the racetrack and out of the facility in this event. Looking like 2 to go until the restart here. These caution flags do take a bit of time, should note. It's a chance to try and reset and think about how things can go here. For many drivers, things are going very well, let's put it that way. If you're Daryl Tidrick and Ricky Bozier, they're some of your best runs of the season now inside the top 10 for this restart, Greg.
Definitely. So Tidrick has been running very strong, BJ as well, but Daryl has also really turned it on here tonight. He's up 16 positions from his starting spot, Wesley. He has shown a lot of speed in his number 45 Ford Mustang. But how about Dan West Jr. as well in the 55, climbing his way back up through the field? Nice job by him to come up through the field as well. But I'm so impressed with the Tidricks, how they've been running here tonight. BJ has been running very strong for the last couple months. Since that Darlington win, he really just started taking on a whole new level here and doing another great job here in third. But I gotta say, I'm also impressed with that 12 car behind him. Spencer Owens showing a lot of speed here.
Yeah, known a lot for his segments and some of his comments, yes, on some of the radioactives from Newark, but again, strong competitor. The last time he won in a Dan Lisa sanctioned series, and that is in regards to for the point systems. It was 2017 was the last time he took the checker at the Kentucky Speedway in that regard. Does not include official racing hour leagues in that regard, but he starts in 5th for this upcoming restart. Brightsman, Frazier, Tidrick, West, Owens, Anderson, Bozier, Marcy, West Jr., and Stabnow. Check that Daryl Tidrick. Round out your top 10, Jeff Stabnow, that I just mentioned, is in P11 in all of this. Should note, by the way, some drivers like Owens are saving fuel, others are not for the start.
And by the way, also should note, Josh Childress, the pole sitter, has climbed his way back to 13th position. So got the fast repair, got the tires. He's back on sequence with the rest of the field. He's showing that he does still have the speed in the 115 as he's climbed back to 13th position.
Good recovery from him so far, especially after what was a disastrous second stint on that respective set of tires when he stayed out in everybody else pit to try and get new tires and try to make sure they could get on to a one-stopper without saving majorly for the fuel. It's still a one-stopper on the fuel, though, to get it to the end of the race. Brightsman on 2 tires in control of the field. Ready to go as he stacks the box off and away near contact, 4th row one back in the bottom line.
So Brightsman getting the run in the number 46 on the 2-tire strategy. We'll see how it works out for him. Rest of the field behind him on 4. Look at Spencer Owens getting right up on the tailgate of BJ Tidrick, going right up the tailpipe of the 72 on that restart. But Tidrick able to get around Frazier there off turn number 2.
Good start as well for Owens on the bottom side in his Ryan Blaney paint scheme. Up the track goes Frazier. Bit of a squeeze now from the purple machine as Tidrick tries to block the run. Owens now underneath the yellow line, making it 3 wide for second. Here comes Spencer Owens looking to lead for the first time as Brightsman loses the bottom. 3 wide for the lead. Contact. Around goes Brightsman. Up to the inside wall, back to the outside. Caution is out. Dan West Jr., several others crash into him.
Chris White, Corey Walters involved.
And that was a recipe for disaster. 3 wide into turn 1. Yes, there was the space, but at the same time, I don't think Brightsman knew how close they were in that 3 wide and just seemed at first glance.
Gonna take a look at the swag replay. Right there's the contact between Tidrick. And I thought for a moment Brightsman was going to be able to save it. Daryl Tidrick, Dan West Jr. Saw Carl Burke and someone else spinning there. Brightsman going for the ride in the 46, but man, oh man, that collected a lot of very fast cars here in this one. We'll take another look at it. See him 3 wide. Right here, I thought Owens was going to get involved, and then there I thought Brightsman was going to be able to save it. Unfortunately, the contact comes, and there you see Chris White piling in, and all of a sudden, several very, very strong race cars are going to have to go to the fast repair.
Amongst them, Carl Burke, Chris White, who remember was already having to use one earlier tonight. Daryl Tidrick with one of his best runs. Several other contenders also involved, including Jeff Stabnow. Rough sequence. BJ Tidrick just did duck down to the pit lane. It's a very lonely one, Wesley. He and only a few others coming on in.
Yeah, it's Tidrick getting ready to come to the pits, as well as everyone else that at least mired in the top 10 on back coming in for service as well. Behind Ottenbacher, we see all these other drivers coming in, making pit stops, taking on, including Carl Burke and Bruce Lee Weaver, Dan West Jr., BJ Tidrick, Chris White, Stabnow, Lowther, Torres, Harris, Paulison, Walters, Tidrick, it's Daryl Tidrick along with BJ, Dan Stussy, all these drivers coming in, taking on service as we see Bruce Lee Weaver now exit the pit lane. Dan West Jr. still at pit stall 3. Jack comes down, he roars out of the pit lane, as well as everyone else here taking on tires and fuel. There goes the 333, the Catman also of James Viney moving into the top 15, guys. Keep an eye on him. He did not pit this go around. And we see these drivers. Man, I didn't think we'd have a caution here. Tough break for Sean Brightsman. I want to try to grab a word with him here in just a moment and get his take of what happened, as this is definitely throw the 45 laps of pit stop out the window, because this has completely changed things up as we approach halfway, Justin.
By the way, we're still about 16 laps or so from the green light, the top of the green light for making it on fuel. Thank you, Wesley, in this sequence. This is a rough one for some of those drivers, and Spencer Owens apologizing for that respective incident. Does take several fast cars out, though. Dan Stussy and Daryl Tidrick amongst the drivers who are either now out of the race, in that case for Stussy. For Tidrick, he's now off the lead lap with significant damage repairs after this one. Your thoughts after all this, Greg, as now Owens is your leader?
Well, this just changed the entire complexion of the race, Justin, because you had 3 cars that had come up through the field quite a bit in the 46 of Brightsman, the 55 of West Jr., and the 45 of Tidrick. All 3 of them had been climbing through the field in a big hurry, all of them getting caught up in that incident now. And now we got the first timer to the series, Spencer Owens, leading the way. Just curious to see what he has on the restart now. We know how fast he is. We'll see how he can handle the restart here.
Hey, gentlemen, just got an update from the pit road again. I just spoke with Chris White. Chris White, obviously, remember, he got involved in that first wreck you called on the back straightaway on the bottom of the inner wall barrier there, Justin. He has had to do a 2-minute repair, hopefully a 2-minute tow to get that car fixed. He says he's going to be okay. Sean Brightsman obviously torn up upside down after that hard contact on that restart in turn number 2. He will also take advantage of that free repair and do a new download, if you will, to try to go on and continue. But again, those drivers right now, worse for wear, being caught up in that wreck, and they're going to continue along.
Thank you, Wesley. To reset your field right now is Spencer Owens in the lead for the first time in his career in this series. Frazier second, Devin West, Caden Anderson, Ricky Bozer, Joshua Marcy, Josh Childress, Roy Grande, John Annenbacher, and Donovan Stevens, who all stayed out under this caution period. 12 on back, all pit. Many of them, as mentioned by Wesley, had to take the fast repairs. And now, this, as you mentioned, Greg, changed the complexion of the race. This also changes how many of them have to potentially race. They don't have the fast repair now to bank on if they get into trouble, such as West Jr., such as Burke, such as many others. Anything else happens to them, they're done.
And we saw that last week with Dan West Jr. Had to use the fast repair early, was able to race his way back up to the field much like he was able to today, but got caught up in a late incident, did not have that fast repair in the bank, and it wound up costing him as he had to truck along with that damage for the rest of the way. But this will be interesting to see how these guys drive, because we saw how fast they were, but now not having that fast repair in the bank, how much more conservative are they going to be?
I'm curious as well at this point. As these drivers get ready for the restart expected this time by. And the interesting thing is going to be now, how does Owens handle the clean air here? Because again, this is the first time we're going to see him here. And the reason you're seeing him pull on forward is he's actually typed a personal apology towards our direction, where he was down as low as he could be in that sequence. Now he's your control car for the first time in 2020 in this series. 75 laps to go this time by Greg. Curious how this goes. Oh, by the way, Ken Anderson and all that is up to P4 on the positive note.
How about the guy in 5th? Look at Ricky Bozer up in the top 5. Haven't seen him have a good run in a few weeks, so he has had a nice recovery. Remember, he was caught up in an incident earlier as well. He has already had to use the fast repair. In at number 42, he's up in the top 5.
We'll have to see if he can keep his car clean as well. Curious if Josh Childress can continue his recovery. Here's the downside for Childress. It's a similar scenario with a heat cycle on the respective tires for that Interstate Batteries paint scheme. By the way, temps near dead even to what they were before. The winds have calmed down a bit. Humidity has picked up to about 57% as we approach the halfway mark in this race. Curious to see how Owens handles his first start in control of the field. Just clarified things right now in race control, similar to what we've seen with a couple others tonight.
Yeah, Binding was talking with his teammates earlier about when he should go. Spencer Owens doing the same right now, chatting it up and just making sure that he has the restart policy down. Pace car ducking down. So field now in the hands of the 12 of Spencer Owens. He's running that Menards throwback that Ryan Blaney is going to run at Darlington this year. Getting a preview of it here on LSR TV. Hits the gas, we go green, and once again.
Good launch as Devin West times it up well as well on the bottom side. Already up to P2, right by Frazier. Right behind that, single file as Ricky Bozier pushes up the racetrack in 1 and 2.
Going back for a second to Devin West, we've seen that several times. The inside lane, position number 2, position number 3 on the charts, is honestly a very, very strong position to be in because you can just time it and just go when the leader goes. When you're in second, you have to wait that half second to see it and come out and go, and that allows the guy behind you to get a run, and we saw that textbook just there with Devin West.
Here, and by the way, Donovan Stevens missed his shift off the start. Bottled up a couple drivers to the back. Frank Harris is also ducked down for an unscheduled stop with trouble. He had a black flag during the caution flag. In the middle pack, you see Paulison, one of the drivers who pitted on the last caution, trying to fight. Right behind that, Stevens, who we talked about, had that missed shift off the jump.
And Stevens has had a nice night as well, qualified 18th up from 13th. Steven Paulson has climbed up 12 positions, started 24th, now currently running 12th in a battle for that spot. Look at the Catman, James Vinian, he's already back up to 11th, going after Gamble now to get back in the top 10. So the 333 having a lot of speed this evening.
New purple lap, Joshua Marcy, in fact, with the 29.487 in the pack. Well, it helps when you draft off the back of Caden Anderson. But the question is going to be, how will that speed be in about 20 laps? Remember, had a lot of fall off on the longest run of the race so far. Underneath the outline just about as he now goes back into turn 1 as the preferred line. And right there you see, just able to stick it a little bit more. Even with that squeeze effect, it's not like you've seen at Las Vegas or at some of the other normal cookie cutters. If you nail your bottom line off the corner, you can get it to work by turn 3 if you get side by side in 1 and 2.
It's what makes this track so unique and one of the most anticipated races on the schedule, for me at least. I love any chance I get to come out here to Kentucky on iRacing, and I love the Cup racing there. It's just such a fun track. It's just that much different than the rest of the cookie cutters, like you mentioned. So much fun. Puts a lot of emphasis on driving the car. Like we talked about in the pre-race, turns 1 and 2 drives like Daytona. Turn 3 and 4, where they're at right now, drives like Auto Club. 2 entirely different corners here, and this just makes it so much fun to watch.
A little bit of push that time, and think about this as well. That's the hardest turn 3 in all of NASCAR. Drivers call it unofficially here at Kentucky. It's not an easy corner to even enter, whether it was with the low downforce, the high downforce, because yes, you had the bumps to help you turn a little bit and try and time up your throttle points. It's completely smooth now in 3 and 4.
And that's a product of the repave. Remember, Justin, this track just came to the iRacing server in the most recent build, this repave of Kentucky. So remember, like we said, this is the first chance these drivers have had to race on it. Some of these drivers, this is the first laps they've ever turned on this track.
Absolutely. By the way, one of the newcomers in the cat car, not the cat car that's up towards the front in Vinings. That yellow and blackish machine, similar paint scheme to what you see today for Tyrell Reddick, currently crawling his way up to the field. That's another one of your newcomers having a solid run so far.
Making his Cup debut in that number 54. Made his series debut in the trucks on Thursday night in Chicago. Very good run. Actually ran up in contention for the win at the end of it. Kind of riding it out right now, just feeling this out in Kentucky here tonight. But he's done a very nice job. And I gotta say, Justin, we've talked about paint schemes. You mentioned the Tyler Reddick scheme on him. I don't know what it is, but I've always had a soft spot for the Caterpillar cars, going all the way back to the Bill Davis days. I can't explain it, but I've always loved the Caterpillar paint schemes.
The interesting thing, by the way, is the same driver. Don't know if there's any relation, of course, shares the same name to the opera singer based out of Indianapolis. In fact, that's known for some of his works. Studied mathematics at Purdue University as well, and performed in several operas. Just so happens to share the exact same name. Don't think there's any relation for obvious reasons. Just a fun fact.
Definitely fun fact. I love those unique facts that it's like, oh, hey, maybe this is the situation that is going on. Well, meanwhile, speaking of situation, Devin West has begun to close in on Spencer Owens. He shaved another 10th off that time. Last time we checked, Owens had a nice about 7/10 of a second lead. Devin West has knocked it down to 2/10 of a second, and he is closing in on the back bumper of that 12 car. Talked about Devin West in the pre-race. 3 wins in the Truck Series now, back-to-back, going in the last couple weeks. Still looking for that first Cup win. Another very strong run here for the 5.
And you have to think that West is eventually due, Devin West specifically. He's come close so many times in so many races, but the luck has just not gone his way in majority of the finishes in 2020 in the Cup Series. He's now got a chance to take the race lead, built up a great run down the front stretch, didn't take it though. Looking like he's waiting for the right chance to pounce on Spencer Owens here, as the Hour drivers are now also reeling in the leader still.
Seth Frazier right behind him, and I've actually had that discussion with Seth Frazier a few weeks ago about Devin West. Seth said once the runs start coming together for Devin, he's going to show a lot of speed in that number 5 car. And also talking to Seth, who is one of the admins of a new series that's coming to LSR TV in the winter, the iRacing.com Northwest Tour, brought to you by Joe's Racing Products. Talked to him a little bit. He said Devin West is planning on running that series as well for his first run in the Super Late Model Series this year. So looking forward to having him join the family in that series as well.
Looking forward to see what happens in the wintertime, absolutely. His best finish of the season, by the way, was at the Charlotte Roval P2 finish at the time back in April. He's also come close a few other times. 3rd place at Las Vegas. Top 3 finish at Dover. Top 5 at the Brickyard. Was in contention at Texas at one point before a DNF after leading 29 laps. So far, 6 top 5s and 7 top 10s for him in 12 starts, with 3 DNFs for Devin West, as he still trails for 2nd. Battle for P3, Caden Anderson now being given the spot now by Seth Frazier behind him.
Anderson going to the inside. Anderson's got a big late model race coming up this weekend in Meridian, Idaho. It's the Idaho 208 coming up at the Meridian Speedway this weekend. Anderson making the trek down for the 2nd time this season. He's going to be driving a late model that looks exactly like his Cup car that you see on screen right now in the number 37. So no doubt he's looking forward to that, but business to attend to here tonight. He wants win number 2 on the season, and he has climbed his way from 15th now onto the podium for the first time.
Absolutely. Great speed shown by Anderson, and we've talked about him already in this season. Remember, he missed several races early on the campaign, joined the series late. He cannot afford to miss another race in 2020 whatsoever to make the playoffs with his victory, remember, in that 37 machine. So in other words, he has to be perfect to get himself back in the top 16, or even have a shot rather be in the top 16 by the end of the season.
And Justin, this makes it difficult for him being in that position. Here's why. Caden Anderson resides in Yakima, Washington. He works in the Tri-Cities. He works in Kennewick, Washington. People in the Northwest watching, they know that's about an hour drive from Tri-Cities to Kennewick, or Tri-Cities to Yakima rather. That's about an hour drive, and Caden gets off work at 6 p.m. That gives him an hour to get home, do any other errands he has to do at the house before logging on, and that's why we see him miss practice and come in near qualifying most times, because usually he's just able to get onto iRacing right around the time the drivers meeting starts. So Caden Anderson already is cutting it close just about every week, just being able to make it in on time, let alone go out and have successful runs. And the fact that he's able to do that week in and week out is equally impressive.
Seth Frazier, by the way, tapped the wall in the backdrop there. He's now lost several seconds. That's also lost him just about the draft for Anderson, and it's pretty bad damage now. If you look towards the number 32, damage on the left front and the right front on that car has seen him now go backwards from the race leader. Chris Torres is also pulled to the pit lane this time on the racetrack. And now that's going to be a disaster for Frazier, because any nose damage like that kills your straight line speed.
The good news is for him, with 4 wins on the season, he's not too worried about the points situation like the likes of Anderson and West in front of him, whereas he can still focus on that. He should lock himself into the playoffs with a solid finish tonight. However, that's going to put that in jeopardy, as he's going to have to run it out to pit stops to take the fast repair. But at least he doesn't have that concern, unlike some of the guys around him right now.
Still decent enough to hold on to the top 5. That's the bright side here as he still tries to chug along with that damage on the front nose. He has, as we mentioned, pushed towards the wall a couple times throughout this stint. Race lead still is providing some pressure. How quick has this long green flag run been? Well, we've blown by the halfway point of the race. We still expect one more pit stop for these drivers coming to 55 laps to go. To make it on fuel, we're about 30 laps now into the respective stints on the racetrack. Your top 10, Owens, Devin West, Anderson, Fraser, Marcy, Childress, Sonnenbacher, Vining, Dan West Jr., and Paulison amongst this field. Pit stop window rapidly closing. You're watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing as we go nonstop.
We're based out of West Monroe, Louisiana. We do custom T-shirts, racing. We'll do any shirt. We'll do schools, churches, fundraisers. We do a ton of event shirts, as you can see on our board here, all around our banner. Personalized. I mean, we do anything. It doesn't matter to us. We got the custom rugs. We use all the, top quality shirts, inks and everything. Hoodies, hats. We do embroidered hats, embroidered shirts. Just you can call us for anything. We do offer the bag and fold to where you can receive them and they're already labeled and tagged and bagged, ready to give out to your customers. So you just call us and just tell us, hey, this is what we're looking at doing, and if we're going to put the car on there, it is 125 quantity minimum. If it's without the car, it's 60 quantity minimum. That's strictly on the racing stuff. If it's a business or something, if you race on Texas shirts, it's a little bit differently. You can call us. It just depends on your quantity and ink colors. Everything is hand drawn. I mean, everything. We don't Photoshop anything onto a shirt or anything like that. Everything that we go through, everything is drawn, and which is the reason for the art fees. We do have several graphic artists that draw for us, and they're really good. So what we do is on any package that you do, we can mix and match. We can do any colors. You can do purple, red, blue, green, and do the rest black. It doesn't matter to us. With your design on there, we can do hoodies. We can do hoodies, long sleeve shirts, t-shirts, tank tops. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's almost limitless what you can do, and you can put all that together in that package to make that minimum requirements. They can call us 318-278-7191, or they can email us at bulletprooftees at yahoo.com, or they can go to the website bulletprooftees.com.
Back live, 50 laps to go this time by the Virtual Kentucky Speedway for more coverage of the Northwest Cup Series on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Justin Prince, Greg Rentz, Ritzley Outland with you, with Charles Wooden in the director's seat. As the battle for the lead has stayed close, Devin West has kept himself within reach of Spencer Owens. This upcoming pit window, if this stays green-gray, could determine who wins this race, because with the amount of fall-off reaching, again, nearly 2 full seconds, that may be just enough for one of these drivers to run away.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes here. Devin West doing a nice job not letting Spencer Owens do just that and run away. Caden Anderson about a second back of this right now, kind of just hanging out, watching, making sure everything's good. Update, Chris Torres has parked it for the night, so he will drop behind the wall. That makes 24 cars running on track right now.
Rough first few races for Torres, should say. 25th overall is his scored position. Harris and Tedrick, the only drivers down a lap, as you see on the left side pylon. The whole field separated by 16 seconds. Wesley, your thoughts on how this is played out from your perspective?
Well, we got this long green flag run under our belts now, and the question is how long will it stick? Could we see this race go to the finish as we're approaching lap number 80, closing in here with the final under 50, 60 laps to go? Or will we get another caution flag? Pretty much the field is strung out, so that kind of does help at least prevent the cautions from happening. But again, I do feel we are going to have green flag pit stops. I think everybody is going to at least have to make one more pit stop, and that's going to really make things interesting as we get ready to close in on lap 100.
Indeed. Going to be very curious to see how this all plays out. Anderson 1.16 seconds back of the race leader. He'll be a full second behind that top 2 train. He's pulled away by from Fraser and Company. That second train rather is getting interesting because John Ottenbacher just came down. He's your first driver to try the undercut, Wesley. He's going towards your direction in the 89.
Yeah, there we go. Green flag pit stops, and maybe this scenario will start. Ready to be a strategy for John Ottenbacher and the Team LSR TV entry car number 89. He roars his way at pit road speed down the pit lane here in Sparta. Going to go to his pit stop box just to the midsection of pit lane and go in and go to work. Crew will roll. He overshot his pit stall. He overshot the box. That loses at least 2 seconds on the exchange. He'll have to fix things back up, go and put the right side tires on. Crew will rush over to the right side virtually, put on the left side tires. 4 new Mr. Feelgoods on, splash it off with 2 cans of Sunoco fuel, tear off, screech the tires with smoke as he roars out of his pit box. A penalty, not, but at least a mistake on Ottenbacher, and he is the first man to come to the pits. We'll see if this sequence of green flag cycle of pit stops will begin.
Thank you, Wesley. And part of the reason he overshot the box you have to think about here, Greg, is if you look towards rear-world footage here, as well as when this track originally debuted on the service, it is very dark down to that pit lane. It's similar to what you see in real life, and it can make it very easy to overshoot your pit box in those sequences here at this racetrack, since unlike real life, you don't have neon pit box signs to help you see where you are.
Yeah, the neon signs help in real life. Don't have that here unless you can edit it to be as bright as humanly possible. But right now, that's not the case for these drivers. And we saw that bite Ottenbacher there as the rest of the field. Yep, here he goes. Devin West to the inside of Spencer Owens for the race lead. Devin West looking for the first laps led tonight. Drag race down the backstretch.
And this is a battle that's taken more than 15-20 laps to develop. West has fallen behind for several dozen laps, not able to make it work. Owens still able to defend back single file. Decent try to start off this battle for position. Seth Fraser, though, has ducked off. He's going to Wesley.
Seth Fraser on the pit lane. Let's see what he can do in that 32 machine. Digging holes and taking souls is what it says on the side of that car for Paul Bearer. And we'll see what the 32 can make. Down to his pit stop box. He gradually gets there. Doesn't want to make a mistake. Goes to his pit stall. Same work. 4 tires and fuel being done. Or could we see a 2 tire stop on the driver? We'll see. Nope. He'll take on 4 tires. 4 tires. Fuel. Filling up the tanks, ready to take this to the finish. Screech his tires with smoke out of the pit lane, and now he's off of the pit lane. So many other cars are in, including Paulison in. So is Dan Stussy. So is also, all these other guys coming in.
Devin West.
Devin West is in his pit stall in pit stop number 5. Donovan Stevens, Devin West, Chris, we mentioned Paulison earlier. James Vining is now into the pits. All these drivers making their pit stops. And now here comes the other drivers coming in, including Caden Anderson into his pit stall. All these drivers in the top 5 with Marcy and Moore, all now making the sequence of green flag pit stops. And all the while, Spencer Owens will still stay on the racetrack as these drivers now get to their pit stalls. Here comes Dan West Jr. He'll go all the way to pit stall 3 on the front section of pit lane and make his pit stops now. Backs in perfectly, no problems, no harm, no foul. 4 tires and fuel. Here comes the number 12 onto his pit stall. That's just Spencer Owens giving up the lead. He will now come and take onto the pits and give the lead back to the pole car of Josh Childress as they move their way back into turn number 1 and 2. All these other drivers, 4 tires, Sunoco fuel, splash, tearing off the windshield, ready for the finish here at Kentucky. Ready to see this race come to the finish. And as you said at one point when they were 16 seconds mired back, the strategy could be even more to the home stretch.
This is going to be very curious to see how this works out. Again, thank you very much, Wesley. As now your current leader is Childress as a result. Again, he can make it for about another 15 laps on fuel, give or take. Then he has to come in. Breitzman can make it another 25 laps. He was one of the drivers who topped off from the fuel. But look at how much time they're already losing. several seconds a lap, and Childress with a really, really early pit stop entry here. Earlier, I think we've seen in a long time, Greg, as he's now rolling towards the pit lane.
I think he's coming in at this point just to get himself back on sequence with the rest of the field so he can go to the end and race it out with the rest of them. That moves Bruce Lee Weaver up in the second. Remember, he had to use the fast repair earlier in the number 40 after getting caught up in that accident. Nice recovery for the guy who won at Michigan earlier this season. However, the driver leading the way now, Sean Brightsman, we know he's not afraid to roll the dice. I think he's going to stretch it as far as he can. And as I say that, I thought he was going to come in, but he almost got ran over there by Spencer Owens getting his lap back.
Wesley, you're in the pits.
Oh, yeah, pit stop time. Here we go again. Let's see what this man will do at his pit stop as Josh Childress is also falling back a lap down, maybe more into the pit lane. He's now on the pit exit. The Interstate Batteries entry roars off of pit road. Maybe going to hurt because he did not pit in sequence with everyone else. But could it be strategy to take this to the finish? The pole car, Josh Childress back down below the blend line. Remember, he's got to wait till he cycles back off of turn 2 to the cone, and then he can commit to make his way up on the back straightaway. As you see him doing it, he will fall all the way back into the 17th position, 1 lap down. A lot of cars a lap down, at least. Caden Anderson up to the leader, including Sean Brightsman, who, by the way, guys, was in that big wreck, remember, leads the way as we approach lap 100.
And near contact as Harris had to shoot up the racetrack to avoid the back end of Brightsman there. Get Brightsman, Weaver, Stabnow, Lowther, Burke, Corey Walters, all are gambling for a caution flag. Several of the drivers have already unlapped themselves in this sequence already, you should note. Your net race leader at the moment, Greg, just so happens to be Devin West in all of this. He gained about 2 seconds on Spencer Owens. The downside is Spencer Owens has 2 lap fresher tires and is about a tenth of a second or quicker than this red machine.
And we've seen the tire fall off, come in big early, so Devin West going to hope for a caution to try to get himself back on sequence with that number 12. I've been watching the 63 of Dan Lowther. He has some damage on the right rear of the car, and it definitely seems to be affecting him because he's having to push up the track just to try to keep it wound up in the number 63. The damage on the right rear affecting him. Running in 4th right now, but we're definitely fighting that 63 right now.
Yeah, that back end is crunched in right at the corner panel, and want to swing towards you, Wesley, on this because you have more of the experience in real world that's effect with some of the drivers. If your right rear quarter panel is crushed in like that, it makes it very difficult to drive.
Oh, exactly. I mean, tied in and loose off the center, we always use that scenario in the racetrack world, reality or virtual. But when you have damage on the fender of your car and it's rubbing against the rear where the tire is, you literally are going to start to see either smoking, which means possibly you're rubbing the fender, or you just have got so much metal caved in around the wheel or near the wheel. You've got to be careful negotiating, working your way around the corner. So if you've got that type of a problem, you've got to really quickly monitor it, take care of it, and then if it does get serious, you got to come to the pit road and remedy it.
Thank you, Wesley. By the way, the net race lead battle has actually gotten tighter way quicker than I think anybody expected. West has been reeled in by 2 seconds in the span of 3 laps. Owens now within the draft now, have to get around some lap traffic, but Owens is quick. 0.2 of a lap quicker last time by. He's got the fresher tires as mentioned. Normally, you don't usually see this work out quite as quickly, but for Owens, he may have played this out just right on that overcut strategy to try and get the run for the net race lead. This could be for the winner of this race if this continues to keep on going. The 31 laps to go. West giving some space. Owens to the bottom side for the race and for the net race lead again. Trying to get it to stick under the yellow line. Takes that lead down the back straightaway with more traffic up the road.
Here's my concern on this, though, Justin. How much of the tires did he abuse? He had 2 laps to the good on Devin West in that department, but with how quickly he was able to track him down, did he use it up a little bit? And now they might be closer together on those tires as Devin comes fighting back on the inside. Great battle. It's for 6th on the charts, but this is the net race lead, and they got lap traffic ahead. West able to fight back, so That's my concern with the did he use up that tire advantage that he had on Devin West by trying to reel him in?
And here's the other thing here too, Greg, is once they do completely equalize for the closing stages, West needs to be within range of Owens to be able to try and fight. He's trying to do that 3 wide with lap traffic. That's Chris White in 20th spot, trying to run the top line. Owens much quicker on the bottom. Devin West gives him the spot as he goes back to the bottom.
Nice battle there by Owens and West. And Owens has gotten around West and is now going to try to pull away. This is all going on 15 seconds behind your race leader, Sean Breisman, who's still trucking along out there in the number 46. Jeff Stabnow running third in the 24. Haven't mentioned him since the incident early in the race on lap number 6. There he is. He is up in the top 3. This race definitely did not go the way he wanted. He's off sequence as well. He still has to make one more pit stop, I believe, but we'll see how much further he can go. They're banking on a caution to try to get themselves still in position here.
Yeah, track position, the almighty king. But they can only go for about another 11, 12 laps or so in the field. That's if they haven't tried saving a little bit. Going to be around lap 20 laps to go when we see them really start ducking down potentially here. Owens, though, completely is checked out just about from Devin West with all the traffic. Devin West took a while to get around Chris White. In fact, he's not even ran away from White. Owens, he's just ran away from them outright. 3/10 of a second quicker last time, as Corey Walters has a bit of a problem behind.
Walters having issues in the number 9 as he's off the pace. Owens is in 5th right now. He's coming up on Dan Lowther for 4th. Remember, Lowther has that damage on the right rear and some connection issues now on the 63. He is running this race on a mobile hotspot right now because the internet at his new house in the Boise, Idaho area still not set up. So he's running tonight's race, much like last week, on a mobile hotspot. So some connection issues beginning to pop up on the 63.
How long has he been at the house again?
He should be, or he just moved in about a week ago. The internet got delayed, so he should be ready by next week.
Unfortunate for him as more traffic is coming on by as well. Again, it's him, Stabnow, Weaver, Brightsman, Burke, and a couple others scattered throughout the field who are yet to duck down for service. There's one of them specifically, Corey Walters, off to Wesley after the long run strategy.
Well, here comes Corey Walters. He'll make his install and limp down in the pit lane. Everyone else will keep an eye on there. I know that's Charles Wooten, our producer's favorite car. Hooters and Taco Bell if Corey Walters and Roy Grande could hook up. But right now, Corey Walters at least falls a lap down. In car number 9, he's on the pit lane. 4 tires and splash of Sunoco fuel. Tear off a little track bar on the left side as well. Screeches those tires as he roars off of the pit lane on the midsection of pit road. He will come back out and join the racetrack 1 lap down in 23rd.
Thank you very much once again, Wesley, as he's one of the drivers trying to stretch on the field. He's now 22nd. After the rest of the drivers have to come down in a few laps for their respective service. If they don't get a caution flag, only Brightsman, Stabnow, and Weaver have stayed in front of the drivers on fresh tires. This is the strategy call we expect Brightsman to try and make. Remember, he's already locked into the postseason, Greg, not just from the victories, but in points. He can't fall out of the top 16 regardless of what happens all the way to October.
Yeah, Brightsman has had such a strong season. He can afford to take a gamble like this and see how long he can stretch. Stabnow, 9 seconds back in the 24. His hand was kind of forced into this position as he got caught up in that early incident. Bruce Lee Weaver is feeling the heat from Spencer Owens now in the number 12. Devin West kind of hanging back there as well. So Owens looking to go for 3rd right now, and he will with relative ease gets around Bruce Weaver. So Spencer Owens back up in the 3rd. Next up on the docket is the Possum, Jeff Stabnow. But Owens still a way to go, and Stabnow has some left rear damage now, Justin.
Not good for Jeff Stabnow. It's been a bit of a rougher race for the 24 machine. Also look on board. He is again a few laps away from his respective service and about to be caught by Owens and company. Despite the cleaner track, here's the pressure from behind.
Here he comes, trying to close in on Stabnow in the number 24. About 0.8 of a second last time by. Let's see how Owens handles this as he gets up here. Gonna take a good run, dive down, 2 Fords, drag racing here on the front stretch. Owens to the inside, at the line, close to call. Stabnow just barely, but Owens almost a second faster, able to get around him.
8/10 quicker to be precise as Stabnow gives the spot. Keep in mind, Devin West has now had the tires equalized. But the problem is, as I was referring to a little bit there, Greg, if he didn't keep Owens within range, it would be very difficult to get back up to the fight for the race lead now that he's about more than a second behind.
Yeah, that's the problem that we talked about with West when we mentioned about the tire fall off, that Owens was pushing a little bit too much, but it doesn't seem to be slowing Owens down anywhere near as much as he is still trying to close in. 10 seconds back of Brightsman last time by. Brightsman coming off turn number 4 right now. He's going to come up and cross the strike right now. Owens is in the middle of turns 3 and 4, so that's the gap right now between Brightsman and Owens. Brightsman going to go as long as he can and hope for a caution so they can get back on the pit road and he can race it out with Owens that way. If this thing stays green, though, Brightsman's going to have to pit eventually.
Yeah, I'm calculating the math at this point. If he tried saving fuel, the longest he can go even is maybe within about 10 laps to go. Then the Cinderella slipper may end up shattering. In that regards, we'll have to see when Brightsman elects to duck it on down. He'll likely be potentially at the very back end of the lead lap, if not at one of the first cars a lap down by the time he does duck down here. It's about still a 9-second cushion. That's the bright side between him and Owens. He's only 0.4 of a second off the pace to the cars behind, as Carl Burke has ducked off out of that strategy, Wesley.
Yeah, it's Carl Burke. You know, he's one of those drivers that would really love to turn things around. We were talking about the story with James Vining, the same thing for Carl Burke. I mean, in 18 starts, start 19 tonight, 2 top 5s and 6 top 10s for the driver that's currently in the top 10 of the point standings with the playoffs looming. He might be able to get it on points, not really certain, but again, he's had some highs and lows for sure in car number 53. That Carolina Tar Heel blue color number Chevrolet makes his pit stop for tires, fuel, Wars back down onto the pit lane. And here comes also Bruce Lee Weaver. He was caught of that wreck earlier. He's came in. He's going to have service done on the Granger entry number 40. Right side, tear off, tires off on the right side. Crew runs over to the left side now. Jacks up virtually the left side. Tires, Jack coming down. He roars and squeals tires out of pit lane. And those drivers, at least I believe now all, are on pit road. They're ready to bring this to the final 15 laps at Kentucky to the checkered flag.
It's been a thrower of a race so far. Brightsman, the only driver on this strategy not yet to pit outside of Dan Lowther. Everybody else has come down for their service and has been on their tires for about 20 plus laps. It's right towards that mark we're referring to. If he wasn't saving, it would be about now. Dan Lowther just hit that mark right now. Question is, will the purple machine do so? No. Brightsman actually stretching for another lap here, Wesley.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Brightsman can actually go to the finish. I'm going to check in real quick on Team LSR and see if he can be able to possibly stretch this till the end. I believe we're on, what, lap 123 of 134?
Yeah.
I believe we're close to the finish here, so you've got to wonder if he's stretching this to the end. I'm going to see the strategy, but yes, Dan Lowther is in the pits. He's doing his thing. Car number 63 going to fall back at least maybe a lap down as he's on pit exit, Dan Lowther. And now also we mentioned Carl Burke, those most recent cars pitting. So I'm going to jump in real quick, and I'm going to see if Sean Brightsman can play gamble here to the finish. I'll give you an update in a minute.
Thank you, Wesley. As your last pit laps are now on your screen, as you can see, many of them pit in the double-digit ballpark or nearly to that point. It's been a long, long time for Brightsman.
Guys, he's pitting this lap. I just asked him. He said, Wesley, I'm pitting this lap. Here comes the car number 46. He will come down the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. He cannot go the rest of the way. He has to pit. Heartbreaking, or is this strategy in case we get a caution with under 10 laps to go now coming up?
He tried the gamble, Wesley. It didn't work out. But with 11 laps to go, he sacrifices the race lead. It's now Spencer Owens with the lead by 1.15 seconds.
And Stabnow's also on the pit lane, gentlemen. Car number 24, a possum, as Greg and I call him on the Truck Series. Remember, don't forget coverage on LSR TV Thursday night, 11:45 Eastern Time, with the trucks right here from Kentucky. Stabnow, a dismal run for him in car 24, the Waltz Beard Co. LSR TV entry. No tires, just fuel. He comes roaring out of the pit lane. And so Sean Brightsman will do a pit stop. 2 tires for Sean Brightsman, no tires, just fuel for Jeff Stabnow. And I believe everybody is ready to go to the finish.
And that's actually a massive gamble here because, for one, if I'm looking at this directly, that's an attempt to try and stay on the lead lap. The problem is, Brightsman came out just behind the race leader. Curious how that car's going to handle. For the older tires of Stabnow, he did not settle where I think he was hoping to. He's way behind the race leader. It may be very difficult to get up to Owens now to try and unlap himself. So the gamble works out, at least for Brightsman, to get back on the lead lap here, Greg.
Brightsman able to get back around the number 12 of Owens now in the number 24, trying to lead the way here. Owens leading the way. Closing stages here.
Indeed, and I believe we may have lost Greg. He'll be back hopefully in the next few moments in the closing stages here with 7 laps to go. One storyline that's quietly gone under the radar. We talked about Dan West Jr. before, Wesley, and how he had been in this race. He's now inside the top 3 with a chance at a podium finish with 7 to go this time.
What a job for that man right now, Spencer Owens. What a special moment it could be. And Devin West also, if I remember correctly, isn't Devin West looking for 3 in a row in the Truck Series if we go and head up to the race this weekend? He's looking to try to go to 3 in a row Thursday for the Truck Series Kentucky. But for right now, he has got a really strong run going for him, sitting in second spot.
Caution.
And there's a caution, and throw everything out the window. This changes everything now, Justin.
Bruce Weaver had been chatting along on the radio for the past lap or so about cars around him and trying to let them go. Tidrick had been near him before the lap prior. And then in turn 3 and 4, disaster struck as John Ottenbacher and him collided.
Swag replay on screen, and Weaver came down. Corey Walters gets collected as well. Weaver just him in Ottenbacher just get together there off of turn number 4.
BJ Tidrick, as mentioned, involved. Apologies again for the technical difficulties on Greg's part. But look at this one more time. It would have been a rough lap and a half for Bruce Lee Weaver. A few unhappy drivers after that one.
Yeah, Tidrick up there. My apologies. I thought that was Corey Walters on screen. I just saw the white car and what I thought was an orange number. It was actually red. But Wesley, as we are under green or under caution here, taking one last look at the replay, but everybody's coming down pit road. We're going to see a whole bunch of different strategy calls now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is the money stop. You're taking a look at that swag replay one more time, but everybody is coming into pit road. Here comes Dan West Jr. He's the father, the son Devin West. They're all coming down to their pit stalls. So is Tidrick, the Tidrick brothers. They're coming in. Brightsman's all coming in. Ottenbacher, everybody that's got a shot to take this to the top 10 or more are coming down, and even behind them, including Roy Grande, John Ottenbacher, all of these drivers, Joshua Marcy, gambling. It's pit stop strategy time. Throw it out the window. Gentlemen, they're taking on tires. They're going to the front. This is going to be an awesome race. And guess who exited first? B.J. Tidrick. He's not won a race since Darlington. We'll always remember that crazy fiasco in that Winston Noble colors number 72. He's ready to bring the field to green along the flipper. Sean Brightsman, earlier in the race, he's got a shot to win this race. Did you catch the poetry?
I did catch the poetry, absolutely, but to kind of correct you on that there, Tidrick and Brightsman did not pit. Tidrick stayed out in that modified, still has to get damage repaired. But Brightsman, remember, just pit 7 laps ago, Greg, and took 2 tires. So this is a very bold strategy call with everyone else on 4 tires who is on the lead lap.
Very, very bold here, Justin. Now, here's the difference between what Brightsman just did and what Josh Childress did at the start of the race. 1 lap difference there when Childress stayed out as opposed to the rest of the field. But here's the difference. Childress was on the tires at the start of the race. Brightsman, his left sides are about 40 laps old right now. So this is a very, very gutsy call on his part.
By the way, BJ Chidwick did not pit, surprisingly, that time by. Does have another lap or so to organize himself there. By the way, out of the race, Bruce Lee Weaver, another DNF for the night. That scores him officially in 24th position. Other drivers getting significant damage repairs this caution: Ricky Bozier, Robert Gamble, along with Chris White, John Onnenbacher, Donovan Stevens, all taking significant pit lane.
BJ Chidwick is staying out, Justin.
Here he's got a meatball flag, Greg, so he can't stay out much longer.
Yeah, he's going to have to come in this time.
And guys, also remember Sean Brightsman. He came into the pits just a few moments ago. As a matter of fact, he was kind of one of those last cars to come to the pit road before that cycle of green flag pit stops had ended. So, not really sure if he's really gambling, or if he can, take things to the finish as well. But they're going to gamble. They're going to go for it. We'll keep an eye on that 46 car. But here comes Tidrick onto pit lane. He has to pit. Onnenbacher is in the pits. Donovan Stevens just pitted. My apologies. I thought that they came down the pit lane. But no, he's pitting now. So he's got to give up the lead and give it now to Sean Brightsman and Devin West. And Devin West now has been on a tear on the Northwest Series for trucks and Cup recently, Justin.
He absolutely has been so far. And I'm curious how this is all going to play out. By the way, again, with regards to BJ Chidwick, he's elected to let all the drivers go and has stopped at the pit exit to do so. And part of the reason for this here, Greg, to explain this a little bit for those who do not know, is there is essentially the reasoning you can stay out of the racetrack for several laps under caution. But he gets disqualified once the green flag comes out. The reason he stays out here, though, is it ends up scoring him higher on the racetrack, and the drivers like Daryl Tidrick and Frank Harris will have less time to then pass them overall on the racetrack and via amount of laps, since there are several laps down to the racetrack. And if it's a GWC potential possibility, instead of being scored, say, 23rd position, he might get scored as high as 22nd maybe. It's a gamble, but it's one that has been done in official races before for IR reasons.
Hey, it's worth it. Take a shot and see what you got. You never know what's going to happen here. We're in the closing stages. We are closing in also on green-white checkered territory. I believe we are going to be a green-white checkered here on this finish. So we will definitely see what can happen. Green-white checkered amps up the intensity already as is. I say gutsy call by Tidrick, but we're going to have 2 attempts at a green-white checkered here. Never know what can happen. If guys wreck out, that's that many more spots.
Again, to reset for those who are watching for the first time, green-white checkered scenario means you must make it to the white flag for the race to be official. No flags will come on afterwards outside of the checkered for obvious reasons at that point. But if there is an incident before they reach the white flag, we'll re-rack them and stack them for one final attempt. If there's a caution flag before the second attempt at a white flag to get an official finish, race will finish under caution. By the way, hearing that Tidrick has gotten disqualified in the 72 for the meatball flag with this extension for the green-white checkered, so that gamble to stay out with the damage has not worked out, with Brightsman staying out here for his gamble on 2 tires that are 6 laps old and 50-plus lap old tires on the left sides. Devin West, Dan West Jr., Owens, Marcy, Anderson, Paulison, Frazier, Childress, and Vining are inside the top 10. 17 cars on the lead lap, 4 of them being waiver rounds for the first of 2 green-white checkered attempts. We're all set to go once again from Kentucky. 2 laps to go in the Northwest Cup Series for race number 20. Brightsman in control of the field. We're back underway.
It's all going to come down to that start Brightsman gets. He gets a nice one. Owens to the inside of Devin West. He's got Dan West Jr. behind him. Let's see what happens. These 4 tires are going to eat up these 2 with the old left sides right here. Owens gets around West. Can Brightsman hold on and get back to the white flag? Here we go. Drag race down the backstretch as Owens and West try to close in on Brightsman. Justin, they're coming to a white flag.
Bit of aggressive Archie moving there with Childress accompanied at the back of the field. But again, white flag coming this time by. Frazier taking it 3 wide, coming hard through the pack. Here comes Owens. White flag up on the stand. Final lap, 1.5 miles left to go at Kentucky. Here comes Owens to the bottom side. Cut off by Brightsman. Huge checkup. Here comes Devin West as Brightsman still holding on as Frazier's coming to make it 3 wide down the back.
Seth Frazier with a big move. Owens throws a block. Here comes Frazier to the inside. West with a bobble. They get into Frazier. Sean Brightsman, the gamble, looks like it's going to pay off as they come down to the checkered flag. Sean Brightsman gets it done. Contact. Frazier and Owens.
And contact even more so at the flag. Sean Brightsman on 60-plus lap old left sides wins on a 2-tire gamble. How about that? Dan West Jr., Seth Frazier, your top 3 unofficially in what was a firework-filled final corner.
Wow.
The demo derby starting early here, Justin, but wow, Sean Brightsman had to take the fast repair after the wreck earlier. 50 laps on the left side tires. The gamble paid off.
Gentlemen, it is bedlam down here in the pit lane. They are celebrating for Team LSR TV for Sean Brightsman. As you said, Justin, almost a 60-lap old tires compared to everyone else. Took on fuel only. The gamble pays off. Sean Brightsman, after flipping earlier in the race, done a reset and puts his car to victory lane. Meanwhile, they are still trying to clean up the carnage from a Daytona Talladega style big wreck on the front straightaway here at Kentucky. What a race here this evening.
What a finish. What a call for Brightsman to make that work and hold on to the checkered flag. That was the best 2-tire call I think I've seen Brightsman execute. We've seen it work with about 15-20 laps difference before, Greg, not 60.
That was a huge gutsy call, and it worked out. And everybody coming up and giving him the congratulatory tap here. But Justin, it was a wild one. Let's take our fans here on LSR TV through the top 10 because it got mumbo-jumboed here at the end.
Lots of stuff shuffling about, in part because of those modifieds you see on your front stretch. Let's take a look at your unofficial results. Sean Brightsman, Seth Frazier, Devin West finish on the podium tonight. We'll be speaking to them in a few moments during the Clan Wars post-race show. Caden Anderson finished in 4th with James Fining rounding up the top 5. Very tough break for Spencer Owens. Had the run into turn 1. Had the block in front for Brightsman to hold on. Then calamity in turns 3 and 4. Squeezed into the outside wall. And what could have been his first career top 5 finish in his first start finishes as a top 10 result. In the end, after leading several laps and starting 27th, Josh Childress, Stephen Paulison, Joshua Marcy, Roy Grande round out your top 10, Greg.
Ricky Bozier comes home with the 11th position. Carl Burke, Dan Lowther, Jeff Stabnow, Corey Walters, your top 15. Dan West Jr. is currently being scored 16th on live timing and scoring, but I'm not so sure on that. We have to go back and watch the replay. We'll see if we can get a swag replay for the Clan Wars post-race show. He's being scored the last car 1 lap down. Last car in the lead lap. Chris White 1 lap down in 17th. Robert Gamble, Donovan Stevens, and Daryl Tidrick round out the top 20.
That may be reviewed as he was across the stripe inside the top 5 originally, but then got cycled down the pylon. Potential black flag may have been a factor there. That may be reviewed in the end. But 21st goes to Frank Harris. BJ Tidrick finishes 22nd. As mentioned, could get up to there. John Ambacher 23rd. Bruce Lee Weaver 24th. Torres, Stuzzi, Hutchinson, along with Chris Walters, Scott Mann also DNF'd, but Ray Fournier did not start. Casey Garber practiced tonight, also did not start this evening's race. 31 drivers entered, 29 started, and in the end, 16 finished on the lead lap in what was a fireworks-filled race tonight. What a way for Brightsman to win this race, to say the very least. I think there's a lot of stunned fans in the grandstands and watching along on the virtual side of things to see what just happened, Greg.
Oh, did you see the riot going on down there in the grandstands? They could not believe what they just saw. There was a huge free-for-all down in turn number 1. We had some Frazier fans and Owens fans getting in each other's arms there. It was a wild one, Justin, and definitely a fun one on LSR TV.
I think so too, and just thinking back to how this all played out, a lot of teams had some great performances. We talked about Team LSR TV machines won 3 in the official pylon. With that, all the drivers are just about all set to go for the Clan Wars post-race show. Clan Wars, the official communications partner of LSR TV. One of the drivers who played the gutsiest call of the season is now joining us from the virtual victory lane tonight. For Sean Breitzman this evening, it was a race to remember. Sean Breitzman now joins us here at the broadcast booth. Sean, I don't know how you did it. You took a massive gamble here for the Clan Wars post-race show to get this victory. How in the world did you make 60 lap-old left side tires work?
I don't even know how to answer that. Luck and a little respect, I guess I'd say. Spencer had an opportunity to kind of dive it in there, and he backed out. And if he didn't back out, it was definitely wrecked.
Absolutely, at this point, interesting to see how this has all played out tonight. What came into your decision to even try that 2-tire call, let alone try and stretch it on the fuel to down to 15 to go?
Well, I got in that wreck there while leading, and just was riding back there and saw an opportunity after all the caution there to top it off and just try to see as far as I can go, and figured if a caution comes out, it's a win. If not, I can at least kind of shorten my pit time and do 2 tires and, just a small 3 to 5 gallons of fuel. So I figured it was a win on the outright. The time seemed to be leveling off. So
yeah, indeed. And in the end there, you were only losing a few tenths of a second once the tires started to equalize, started to wear out for the other respective drivers. But for you, 48th career win in Northwest Racing Series action, your 6th victory in the Cup Series this season, and still plenty more races to go before we head to the postseason. What's your mindset now like to try and continue this momentum all the way into the next race at Auto Club?
It's going out there and win races. Coming down. My goal this year is to try to get inside the all-time Northwest Series of wins. So Mark Walls. So I'm shooting for that, and with this crowd, it's going to be pretty tough. But that's the end goal for the series.
Anyone you want to thank for the victory tonight?
Just got to thank you guys at LSRTV for sponsoring the trailer. I got to say thanks to my wife, allowing me to do this fun stuff. Thank you to the Northwest Racing Central Welding Supply, and thanks guys for podcasting, putting on this great product for all of us to look at after the fact.
Thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on the victory. That's Sean Breitzman, your winner in the LSR TV number 46. Apologize on his behalf for the technical difficulties, but Greg gets the pleasure of speaking with Seth again on a P2 run tonight.
Of course I do, and I actually just interviewed him after a second on Saturday. Let's do it again. Hey, Seth, how's it going?
That's going.
Hey, Seth, tell us about that finish, man. That was a wild run. You and Spencer Owens battling it out there, trying to get up 3 wide going down the backstretch. Walk us through that last lap.
Oh, it's last lap, so you're just trying to get whatever you can get out of it. Me and Devin got together there. I didn't have a very good angle into the corner, tried backing it up, and I think he was running me a little bit tight, and I pushed up into him, so I apologize for Devin for that. And then coming off the corner, I was trying to run a new guy. What's his name? Spencer. I was trying to run Spencer tight, and I think we neck code a little bit and just kind of turned him into the wall. So I apologize to him too. It's kind of a rough finish there. It wasn't what I was trying to do, but congrats to Breitzman for stealing another one from us.
Well, Seth, a very solid run for you. You were on the bubble of being able to lock yourself into the postseason on points by making it to where you can't finish worse than 16th. Not sure if it's official, but I think with the second place, you got to be getting pretty close to that. So you can really start turning your attention towards the playoffs. 4 wins on the season. You really can start focusing on that.
Yeah, I'm going to start playing around with some wheel settings the next few weeks and trying some different things and seeing if we can get something for a long run or short run and kind of get an idea of what we need to do for the playoffs.
Well, Seth, just one more race, by the way, before the big day, because I know your wedding's coming up here in a couple of weeks. So one more race for you before that goes down. That's coming up next week. But tonight, another second. So who you want to thank?
Well, I actually got a quick question for you, Greg.
Yeah, I know.
Are you coming to the wedding?
I'm going to try. I should be.
Because Bart said he'd give you a ride if you can get to his house.
Bart did?
Yeah, and if
I
you get to his house, he may or may not have a date lined up for you for the wedding.
Of course he does.
So I need you to shave your chest. I know it'll be a first. You're going to need at least a pack of 12, maybe 24 razors to get through this. If you guys don't know Greg, he's got more chest hair than Bigfoot. So, some girls are into that, but not a lot of them are. So we're going to need Greg to do something about that. Maybe nair, wax, we're going to have to do something here.
Hey, I don't want to get tranquilized, so that's a good idea. But Seth, another second place here. Who do you got to thank?
Just you guys putting the show on, and Brightsman and Sab now and everybody for putting the league on, and millions out there watching. Aunt Kathy, thanks for being good support, and we'll have fun again next Monday night.
All right, second place, Seth Frazier, another one. Congratulations.
Again, that's Seth Frazier, P2 tonight. P3 ended up going to a member of the West family racing. It's Devin West, unofficially P3 tonight. Your perspective on what was essentially a very insane final restart of the race, 3 wide down the back for second.
I think I got the short end of the stick there. I don't want to talk politics, but I was definitely happy to have a top 2 car all day. Spencer was fast. I tried everything I could, and I couldn't get to him. State tires better than me. He was faster than I was on the long run. I had for him and Seth for a podium finish. Fortunately, I never got a 3-wide call, and so I drove down in the corner thinking that I was going to get a good run on Sean, and Sean got the podium, actually, sorry. Unfortunately, me and Seth came together. The moment I thought for sure I just got doored, but I looked back at the replay, and I think we just came together. So that's that. Just happy for a good run.
Indeed, you were in contention much of the night, and you mentioned some of that long run differences. It took you several laps to time things out, it seemed, in the battle with Owens. What's going through your head as the race ticked down and we had our longest green flag run of the race, including green flag pit stops?
I think I was fast. I think I had a lot of speed, I think if it wasn't for Spencer being out there, I think I would have had the best car in the field. But that's what makes it so fun. Having a new guy come in the league like that and earn respect right away. He was fast, and it's a credit to him. So hopefully I can maybe get better on saving tires. I've usually been pretty good at that, but I just got to get better.
Absolutely, and give yourself credit. Think about it this way. Owens in official racing is a top split driver in series like the NASCAR iRacing Series, which is the 50% Cup Race Series, and races in several of the top organizations outside of the Northwest Cup Series. But the next race goes to Auto Club. Your thoughts there?
I'm super excited for that, for Auto Club. I think in the trucks, not too long ago, about 2 months ago, I got second to my dad and had a great truck. Auto Club really fits in my wheelhouse. I really like the big momentum tracks, just sort of multiple lanes. So I think it'll be a lot of fun, great racing for the fans, for the broadcast. So it should be a lot of fun.
Anyone you want to thank on that number 5 machine tonight?
Just Kenny's got some hardwood, effective web solutions, Washington Series supply. My dad, Jeff, Sean, everyone that puts on the sleeve, and of course you guys. And everyone that races clean. I know in the moment I can sometimes feel like get short on the stick, but in the day I was trying to get a win. So I'm sure now the playoffs is getting close, and I don't think I'm in yet. So great racing tonight, and just appreciate all you guys.
Congratulations on the top 5 finish tonight.
Thank you.
Devin West, P3 this evening. Like to thank him as well as Seth Frazier, Sean Brightsman for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Greg, turn to you. Your final thoughts after what was a very intense finish tonight, to say the least. I don't think anyone expected Brightsman to try that 2-tire call. I don't think anyone expected it once he tried said call for him to hold on in turns 1 and 2, but he did it and won, and actually ran away a bit from drivers on fresher tires because they were busy fighting for second.
Yeah, the way this race played out felt right into Brightsman's hands because everyone was juking and battling, like you said, for that spot. That allowed Brightsman to pull away, and he had just enough of an advantage with those tires to make it work. And then, of course, the craziness behind him was definitely playing a role in that as well. But the way the race went, that was about the most intense finish you could have for a race like that. A lot of fun here at Kentucky, and it's Sean Brightsman getting the win tonight. Big one here for him. Another win on the season. I think, does that move him back into the lead for most wins in the series, or did he have firm control of that already?
Well, when you think back with the victories, Brightsman had that margin by Frazier by 1. It's now up to 2 with 6 victories on the season. Second best is Frazier with 4 victories, but ask you a little bit about Auto Club last broadcast. Now, after seeing what happened here, and especially if we see more newcomers or performances like we've seen from Owens tonight, your expectations, how are they now for Auto Club? Now seeing especially the speed of that 12 machine.
If Spencer Owens comes back next week, he will definitely be a force to be reckoned with again at Auto Club. And we talked about it last week. Auto Club, you're going to see 4, 5, possibly even 6 wide if we really decide to go for it next week. You talk about multi-groove racing. Auto Club is the king of multi-groove racing here in this Cup car package. So going to be a wild one coming up here next Monday night, Justin. You're not going to want to miss it on LSR TV.
Indeed, can't wait to see. And for those who have watched the racing with this package, it's very fun. Let's just say that once you have enough cars fighting for the lead for the first 20 laps before the tire wear settles in. But I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action here on LSR TV, your home for sim racing. The next time the Northwest Racing Series hits the track here on LSR TV, as mentioned by Wesley, is for the Kentucky Speedway 180. That's in the Truck Series. Open setups, 120 laps are on the docket, 180 miles. That's on Thursday. Be sure to tune in on LSR TV. Then on Monday, the Cup Series is back on the track, going over to Auto Club. That's going to be taking place once again on the next round of the campaign, where drivers will be looking to try and fight for another chance for victory right before the Labor Day break. Once again, currently 85 laps are on the docket, expecting potential extension to 100, with 170 miles on the calendar. Coverage starts at 11:10 p.m. Eastern, 8:10 Pacific, here on LSR TV. But it's time to say goodbye. For my co-broadcaster, Greg Rentz, for pit reporter tonight, Wesley Eltwin, for producer, Charles Wooden, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your night. You've been watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing. Congratulations to Sean Brightsman on win number 6 on the 2020 campaign.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.